Good evening and welcome to Higher Heights for America and BET Hers, hashtag Black Women Lead 2020 pre-party and conversation at the Democratic National Convention. This is your virtual go-to party as we celebrate Black women's political leadership in our country. I think you will all agree that this has been a trying year for our nation, our community, and for Black women. But what we've seen is that Black women have been defending our homes, our communities, and our nation. And many of them are boldly stepping off the sidelines and leading it as activists to all the way to elected office. And tonight, we're gonna gather directly and collectively to watch a little bit of history making as Senator Kamala Harris takes the stage tonight as and does her acceptance speech for Vice President nomination for the Democrats. So welcome. This is going to be participatory. This is going to be fun. You're going to learn. So the first thing, if you're watching, invite your crew. Share the feed, invite your crew over to this conversation, and we want to hear from you. So you're going to use the hashtag Black Women Lead 2020 and tag at BET Her and at Higher Heights because we want to hear from you. I'm going to toss it to a great conversation about the history of Black women leading in this country. Tonight wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the Black women that came before us. Our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, our mothers, and those leaders who have forged the way from Sojourner Truth to Fannie Lou Hamer to Rosa Parks. We can keep naming names, but we're gonna spend a little time talking about Shirley Chisholm. 48 years ago, Shirley Chisholm stepped off the sidelines and boldly ran for president in 1972, the same year I was born. Her slogan that year was unbought and unbossed. And surely the leadership that we see with Black women leading across the country from our homes, our communities, our elected offices, these are the women that are literally leading unbought and unbossed leadership. And so tonight we have a great conversation with Hazel Dukes and Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. Point of privilege, we are all New Yorkers. I'm not an original New Yorker, but they adopted me. And Shirley Chisholm is a daughter of Brooklyn and proudly served the New York State Assembly and Congress proudly for Brooklyn in the state of New York. For those who don't know, Hazel Dukes has probably, Mama Dukes, how many conventions have you actually attended?
I have attended 17.
Yeah. And
I was in Indiana for even the Black convention.
So we're going to have to do some more taping and conversations about that journey. But tonight we are actually going to talk about that historic night as Shirley Chisholm prepared to have her name entered into nomination from the floor, and why you all thought it was so important and symbolic for that to happen. And there's a lot of behind the scenes things that if you haven't read her memoir, you might not know about. And Hazel Dukes is going to give us a little glimpse of that evening and her taking the podium that night and entering her friend and colleague's name into nomination.
Thank you so much, Glenda, for having me. And what a joy to be with both of you, my daughters. You and Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, what a joyous occasion to see from City Council now to Congress for her journey. And for you for galvanizing us together as African-American women. And I love this, what we've been doing, the intergeneration. It has been unthinkable to see how we have unified in the last 2 months, united Black women. We all had different candidates. We all thought different about what should happen, but we got focused. And I think we got focused because the history that you said about so many of the women's shoulders that we stand on. But for Shirley Chisholm, I said yesterday I was interviewed, here was a woman only weighed about 100 and some pounds, sassy, the walk, the way she presented herself, she knew that she was and all about. And then I have watched you and watched Congresswoman Clarke held that same sassy, that same rise as Maya Angelou talked about. And people resent that. And that night, I was glad when we invited African-American males to be a part of us, to say we wanted a African-American woman on the ticket. The story is that Ron Dellum, who was a fighter, a furious fighter in Congress, he was to nominate Shirley Chisholm. And the caucus and his group called him in. And of course, they was talking about unity and what this would do if they nominated Shirley. And so Mary Pinkett, former city councilwoman who's now deceased, Brooklynite, by the way, we were walking down the hall with Mr. Sutton. We had been out for dinner in Miami, Florida. And so when Mr. Sutton passed by the room where Congresswoman Chisholm was, one of her people, aides, was standing in the door, and he said, "How is everything going?" And she said, "Not well." And he said, "Oh, what is happening?" And she said, "Wait just a minute." And she proceeded to go back in the room, and she came back and she said, "Mr. Sutton, Ms. Chisholm would like to see you." He said, "Okay, wait, I have two of my dates with me. Will you all just wait a minute here?" And so Councilwoman Pinkett and myself, we waited outside the door, of course, and he came back out and he said to us, "Come in." And we went in. Shirley was sitting up straight. Congresswoman didn't have a tear in her eyes. She was determined. And she said to Mr. Sutton what had happened, that Congressman Dellum had been told that if he wanted to aspire and move through Congress and whatever plums they had, that he should not nominate her. And he came back as a gentleman and explained the situation. Percy Sutton said to her, "By all means, my lady, I will nominate you." And he turned and looked, and he said to Mary Pinkett and I, "And you will second the nomination." Well, I looked at Mary, Mary looked at me. Mr. Sutton had spoke, my mentor, the man that have helped me to be who I am today. And so we said, "Yes, sir." And we went, oh, the stage was beautiful in Miami, Florida. And Mr. Sutton got up with his eloquence. I mean, and he nominated Shirley. And the two little African-American women went right on that stage and seconded that nomination. That was pride for me, as it was for Congresswoman Clarke. When we decided, a few women over on the east side at the home of one of my late sisters, she said, "We're going to fundraise for Yvette Clarke." And of course, Dr. Maxwell and Rose Pierre, we all said, "Add our name. We're going to be hostess for this." So we have had a tradition, I have, of supporting African-American women. Now, I had the honor to take Geraldine Ferrara to the Black Caucus when they nominated her. They came to me, I was a National Democratic woman at that time, and they came to me and they said, "Will you, Mario Cuomo people sent and said, ask Hazel Dukes." I was shaking in my boots, but I did it. But I didn't shake one bit that night for Congresswoman Chisholm, and I have not shied away 1 minute from Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, who have come into that position from a city councilwoman, and what she's done and what she's shown, her leadership, her skills to bring us together. And so when you transition, Glenda, into the history, as we celebrate today 100 years of the 19th Amendment, what a glorious time it is for us as African-American women who, you know, in the red and white, we played a great part in that. But even some, they wanted to go in the back. and they didn't. I'm doing a program for the Queens Library about Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells, they wanted her to go in the back of the march, and she said, hell no, I'm in front of this march. And so it's our time, it's our space, and it's our moment, and it's our movement. No back, no side, up front, and leadership.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It is definitely, I think, an ability for you to sit tonight watching Kamala Harris take that podium and remember the work that has been laid. Black women have always put more into this democracy than we got back. And today we're standing firmly in the notion that we are demanding our return on our voting investment in our democracy. And that includes centering policies that directly impact Black women, our families, and our communities. And we're claiming seats at decision-making tables. And that is absolutely what Congresswoman Yvette D. Clarke is doing. Thank you for joining us, Congresswoman. Share a little bit about, as you made this journey to Congress, what you felt when you did that first oath of office, and how you brought, the legacy of Shirley Chisholm not only to that oath of office, but how you have been boldly governing since.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for doing this evening. Higher Heights has been a real resource, a real support, a real construct for Black women's voices to be heard, for Black women's leadership to be uplifted, and to sit here and listen to Mother Hazel Dukes, a leader who has made it a part of her mission to fight for Black people, but to center Black womanists right in the midst of that. And, to be elected to the United States House of Representatives in the line of succession to the Honorable Shirley Chisholm has been an honor, just a deep, abiding honor for me, because I recognize, that Shirley Chisholm blazed the trail for Black women in Congress, being the very first Black woman elected to Congress. And knowing that she came from the same streets that I've walked, the same streets that I was raised in, the same community that, gave me life, gave me a sense of purpose, a sense of mission, and a sense of fidelity when it comes to the people of the 9th District of New York, and by extension, all of the American people. Shirley Chisholm's legacy is alive because so many Black women, so many women in general, but in particular Black women, have recognized through her lived experiences that we can assume positions of power. We can be successful in representing the dreams, desires, and to set policies that reflect that in every decision-making room, at every decision-making table. And it's been quite a journey to be where we are today, witnessing the first Black woman being nominated as the vice presidential nominee for the Democratic Party. If Shirley Chisholm was not audacious, if she was not bold, if she was not committed and wedded and progressive, perhaps this day would not have come, because she stood up when many doubted her and said, notwithstanding your doubts, I am confident that I can do the work that needs to be done to bring justice to my community, bring fairness and equity to my community. So it's again, just an honor.
Yeah. Glenda, I didn't say this, but we have to say it. It would not have been a Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton or even Barack Obama who would dare to have done this if it wasn't for Shirley. And I think the voice of Fannie Lou Hamer, who went to the Democratic Party and said, look, she said it way before we have. We put investment in here and we are demanding our place in here. And so that really opened up the Democratic Party, that they had to begin to look at the contributions that was being made by women. And Doug Jones, you know, every time I see him, he would not be there if it wasn't for Black women. And so you are right. We are saying we have invested. Now give us our return. And we're not saying give it to us. We are demanding our return.
Absolutely. I mean, we all point to, you know, many people, even outside of the work that we do in politics and government, we point to Shirley Chisholm being a centering piece for Black women's leadership. So we are all sisters and daughters and granddaughters. And for the, you know, great-granddaughters and great-great-granddaughters that aren't born yet, we are the daughters of Shirley. So thank you so much, Dr. Hazel Dukes and Yvette, Congresswoman Yvette D. Clarke, for joining us for this evening celebration of not only this historic night, as Kamala Harris will soon take the stage and we will hear from her accepting her nomination from the Democratic Convention, but frankly, we're celebrating Black women's leadership, and we all celebrate that we are daughters of Ida, Sojourner, Rosa, Coretta, Betty. So thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Hope to see you soon.
As we call her, Mama Dukes, who, if y'all didn't see, she is in our Zoom party partying it up. Her discussion around history, I think, is very important. And to one of my closest family friends, Congresswoman Yvette D. Clarke, thank you for sharing your story. The road to 2020 has been built by Black women from history to now. Shirley Chisholm obviously boldly stepped off the sidelines and ran for office in 1968 and then in 1972 as president. And here we find ourselves in 2020 with a highly discussed beepstakes, as some called it, a list of women. You know, Vice President Biden, you know, very boldly said he was going to choose a Black woman a woman for his running mate. And what we found is that the Black women's leadership bench is long and deep. And we heard from, you know, 6 Black women that were, you know, up for consideration. These are just a glimpse of the Black women across this country that are boldly leading an elected office. And we want to share a little bit about the 6 Black women that we've been talking about over the last couple of months.
On the suppression of the people's democratic right to vote has been truly appalling. So let's be clear. This is not a speech of concession.
What happened?
I mean, the Secretary of State showed a deliberate indifference to the needs of Georgia voters. But why do we need a Secretary of State except to have leaders who do their jobs?
President Trump's abuse of power has injured our nation.
Just when we think he's hit bottom, he finds 10 feet lower to go.
I've enforced the laws and now I write the laws. And I know that nobody is above the law. But the law means nothing if the accused, whether the man who breaks in your house or the president, can destroy evidence, stop witnesses from testifying, and blatantly refuse to cooperate in the investigation.
And on this day, the day of George Floyd's funeral, on this day, a day that should be a day of national mourning, in 2018, the Senate unanimously passed bipartisan anti-lynching legislation. Senator Paul is now trying to weaken a bill that was already passed.
As mayor, certainly the governor's order supersedes my authority, but his authority then supersedes my voice. To open up our state is irresponsible. Simply because we have hospital beds and we aren't at capacity doesn't mean that we need to work to fill them up.
There is a way that national security decision-making is supposed to be made. There's a way a responsible White House is supposed to work. There's a way policy gets made that is actually supposed to be conducted in the interests of the American people. Right.
Goosebumps. So if you haven't shared with your feed yet, we have a lot more to come in this countdown to Kamala Harris taking the podium tonight. And so we have some guests that are going to share reflections. We still have some amazing panels that are about to happen. And we have MC Lyte coming up, y'all. But first, before we get to a little dance break, I'd like to introduce Dr. Julianne Malveaux.
Oh, this is such an exciting moment. I can't tell you how long Black women have fought for equal rights in the vote. But we still don't have the equal rights, and everybody who's watching this really needs to vote. And you need to start now. I mean, you need to start now by requesting a ballot if you have to request it. Make sure you mail it back early. Don't wait. We know what's going on, the hijinks with the Postal Service. But the historic moment cannot be overstated. I'm literally just excited. I know Kamala personally. She's worked in San Francisco, and I'm a native San Franciscan. She's top of the line in terms of everything, in terms of her analysis, her sharpness, all of that. And so all of us are excited. I want to call the name of Ida B. Wells, who marched in the Women's Suffrage March in 1913. I want to call out my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, Sorority Incorporated, whose women, they were only 22. They bogarted their way into this march where Black women had been instructed that they could not march. So this is the fruition of the work that they did. This is a realization of a dream. Black women everywhere, I hope, are celebrating, but more than celebrating, we have to now go from celebrating to working. We've got a sister on the ballot. We've got a relatively progressive man on the ballot, but it's not going to be easy. We are dealing with someone who will steal the vote. He's already talked about having a do-over. Whoever heard of having a do-over with the vote? So our work, folks, our work is to make sure that we're out there. We just must vote. That's the only way to say it. We must do it. And not only vote, we must vote so that we win by a huge margin. But you know, already the attacks have started, unseemly attacks, the birtherism, some of the other things that don't even bear repeating. But they're ugly attacks that are both racist and sexist. And we have to be the voices, Black women, that lift our voice and say, we're not having this. So I love Higher Heights and the young women who've put it together. I love all of the things that we're doing to make sure that Black women's voices are amplified. We must know that even as we celebrate, Black women are still peripheralized. There's still many ways that we are marginalized. Many people think of woman as a white blonde. And then I would respond by saying, as Sojourner Truth did, ain't I a woman? I plowed and planted, and not a man could head me, and ain't I a woman? And this is a womanhood celebration moment. Kamala Harris, good luck. Sisters all over the place, we must work. We have no other choice but to basically, as Michelle Obama said, work and vote like our lives depended on it, because they do. Thank you.
Bring you a little word and possibly a little song. Latasha Brown from Black Voters Matter.
Well, the first thing I did right was the day I started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on. Well, the last thing I did wrong, I stayed in the wilderness a day too long. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on. Sisters, this is our season. This is our moment. We've got to hold on to the dreams that our ancestors had. We are their dreams, and we've got to hold on for generations to come. Come on, sisters. It is our moment. Just keep your eyes on the prize and hold on.
Latasha Brown. So if you've ever been to a Democratic convention or a Republican convention or any convention, let me go on and do some shout outs before I go. Like, we see we are very prideful tonight in our, for those watching on Facebook Live, we actually have a party over in Zoom. And so I will say that the members of historically Black Greek letter organizations are like live in our internal chat feed. And so I wouldn't be, I got to shout out my girls in the pink and green. So if you are a member of a Greek letter organization or you went to a HBCU, go into the comments and tell us who are you repping tonight. I'm bringing my girl crew on, who we would have been getting ready to go to the convention. We've done it 3 conventions, I think, in a row. That is Joy Williams, Tracy Sturdivant, Kimberly Peeler Allen, Carol McDonald, and Sonia Lockett. The crew, the Higher Heights crew. Hey.
Hey, what's going on?
Good. Some of us are a little late to party. Where's Sonia at?
I was trying to get my video started. Hey.
Can the host turn our video on, please, or my video on?
My camera too.
So we are so excited to be in community tonight with our girls.
We'd be at the convention hall waiting and holding seats for them.
Yeah, basically. And they would be in the group chat telling us, oh, we coming, we in security. Meanwhile, they probably still at the hotel.
Eating. So for those who don't know, this is part of the leadership of Higher Heights for America in our family of organizations. And we are so, I'm going to toss it quickly to Kimberly because, we have a lot going on, but, little did we know, Kimberly.
Little did we know when you asked me and said, let's have coffee. I need to figure out my life. Who knew that, 9 years later, here we would be. It is just really amazing. And, we built this organization for all of you because we knew we needed a home. And we knew if we needed a home, y'all needed a home too. And we just said, we came up with the name. That day, we were like, okay, so we're going to call Joy, we're going to call Tracy, we're going to call Sonia, and really started putting the team together to create this space so that Black women could feel that they had the tools, they had the support, they had the resources for them to be able to lead and succeed at all levels of the political process, because we knew that our voices weren't being heard. We knew from talking to people like Yvette Clarke that she was being pushed to the sidelines. So it said, how can we collectively push everybody up? So here we are, and as Senator Harris said to me backstage on an event probably 3 years ago, y'all were built for this moment. You had the foresight for this moment. And when she said that, I got chills. I was like, we were just trying to save our friends, and we have hopefully collectively saved the nation. So I'm beyond excited. I can't believe that this is from the back of a placemat. Here we are. We have a Black woman about to accept the nomination to be the Democratic nominee for vice president. It is absolutely incredible.
I'm going to say to those of you who are watching, if your friends come to you with a plan on the back of a napkin after having lunch, just say yes. Just say yes and go all in, because, years later, you can see all of the work that you have put into moving this movement of highlighting Black women's political leadership. And it's not only Senator Kamala Harris, who will soon be our official, accepting the official nomination as vice president on the Democratic ticket, but she's not the only Black woman on the ballot, Glenda. As those of you who have been part of Higher Heights know, that we focus on making sure that all Black women up and down the ballot, so not only at the top, but also making sure in Congress and state legislature, we provide support, training, and information to support those women. Women like Jackie Gordon, here in New York, if elected, if we put our support behind her, she would be the only second Black woman from New York State in Congress. Joyce Ann Elliott in Arkansas, Marilyn Strickland, Lauren Underwood, Candace Valenzuela in Texas, who will be the first Afro-Latina. And then not even talking about Congress, then we go to Yvonne Lewis-Hawley, who is the Democratic nominee for Lieutenant Governor in North Carolina. So it's important, yes,
Senator Harris, who will hopefully, with all of our hard work in these streets, become our vice president, but also those women that we have endorsed and supporting all up and down the ballot, all across the country. They need our support. We need to uplift their names. We need to contribute to their campaigns. And if you live in those states where those Black women are running, contribute your time, talent, and treasure to make sure we elect some of them to office.
That's right. And I want to add to what you said, Joy and Kimberly. Like, this is not, I want us obviously to relish the historic nature of this moment. And also, y'all, we have earned it. Black women have earned it. We have been leading since day one. And, you know, we talk about Black women being the backbone of the Democratic Party. I say we are the backbone and we are the front bone. We are the hip bone. We are the clavicle and the patella and the femur. We are the entire skeletal system of this party and of this country. So when we talk about, you know, like our leadership, we have been leading from day one. We built this democracy from the suffragette movement to the civil rights movement, now to Black Lives Matter. Hashtag Black women have always led, and now is our time. We are the foundation of the democracy and the America that we want to see. And I am thrilled to be here with you tonight to party a little bit before we celebrate later on tonight when we have Kamala Harris accept this nomination to be our next vice president. Woo!
And so at the end of the day, we couldn't pull this together without others. And so on behalf of Higher Heights for America, Board of Directors, all the members that are gathered today, our leadership circle, our founding members, those who've been with at the beginning, including BET, who has been a longstanding partner. Thank you for partnering tonight. And our partners in the fight, Black Voters Matter, National Action Network, Black PAC, NAACP, Sisters Lead, Sisters Vote, Emerge, and Collective PAC. Thank you so much for making this evening possible. And I'm going to toss it to Sonia Lockett for a quick shout out.
Yes, I am like over the moon tonight. I'm actually a little emotional, so hopefully I can get through this without crying. But I'm so excited to see my friend, my Howard University classmate, stand up there tonight on the shoulders of Shirley Chisholm and Barbara Jordan and Ida B. Wells to accept the nomination for vice president. And this is a moment that's bigger than what I could have imagined right now. It's bigger than what I imagined when we all sat together about Higher Heights. And I just know that tonight when she is on that stage to accept the nomination, she's not standing alone. She's standing with all of our ancestors. She's standing with her whole Howard University community, our HBCU community, her AKA community, her Delta sisters, all of the Black women who are just, we have been working for this moment, and we are so excited. And I know I'm going to be crying all night because I'm a crybaby, but this is just such a beautiful night. And this has been a wonderful journey with all of you, my sisters, to get us here. And I'm overwhelmed right now, absolutely overwhelmed.
I'm so glad that we get an opportunity to celebrate in this moment that is really challenging for a lot of families across this country, still living in the midst of several pandemics, both the COVID-19 as well as the uprisings that we've been experiencing around racial injustice, and that all coming to a head. So it's bittersweet that this is happening in this moment, but it's also important that it is happening in this moment because Black women have been, as Carol said, not just the backbone, but the heartbeat of change in this country. And so we are excited about celebrating tonight.
So I want to introduce to you for a conversation, Alencia Johnson, who is actually helping to produce this evening in conversation with actress Yvette Nicole Brown.
All right, I am so excited to be here tonight. First of all, let's give it up for MC Lyte. Woo! Everybody joining us tonight. I am so excited to be here with my sister friend, Yvette Nicole Brown.
Hey, sis.
Hey, sis. Wait, what'd you say?
Ski hoop.
We
both representing. We might as well go and get
We
out
are. You got your pink and green on. I got my red and white on. Right. This is about the bigger sisterhood. We're so excited. So Yvette and I actually met months ago. It seems like forever. Like we became instant
I feel
friends.
like I collected you. You know how you meet somebody and you like, okay, she's gonna be my friend. I collected you immediately.
Yes.
It's like maybe 5 months ago, 6 months ago. Maybe?
I know, it was so crazy. So I used to work on the Elizabeth Warren campaign, and Yvette was a supporter. And I think the first time we got on the phone, there were a whole bunch of staff on the call, but it was just Yvette and I talking, like, hey sis,
hey girl,
where you at? So I actually want to ask you though, Yvette, you have always supported Senator Harris. You actually didn't even engage the Warren campaign until way after she had exited the primary, which is out of respect for her and her candidacy, which is powerful. I want to ask you though, broadly, as an actress in the entertainment industry, why is it so important, or do you feel it's so important for you to lend your voice to this conversation, and especially for Senator Harris?
Well, listen, as a Black woman in America, we have to all support each other at all times anyway. As you know, I was a huge Kamala supporter. I also loved Elizabeth and I loved Julian Castro. Those are my three that I thought if we're gonna make a change, this is how we do it. And so I was gutted when my other candidates fell out, and Elizabeth was what part of my three. And so I was like, well, I felt personally that maybe had I been more focused and public about each of them, that, come out for them, that maybe they would have stayed in. So I felt personally like I can't let the same thing happen to Elizabeth that happened to these two. And that's when I was like, what can I do to get the word out about this woman? Beyond that, Black lives matter, Black voices matter, Black votes matter. And I knew from the beginning that if we were blessed to have a sister, especially a sister of Kamala's caliber, to be in the running for vice president, I knew what was coming for her. I knew how horrible the attacks would be. I knew how unfair and unkind and ridiculous they would be. And we're maybe 4 or 5 days after it was 7 days after she was announced, and already was she born here? Is she Black enough? It's just too much. It's too much. And really, for it to be happening now when we are literally facing Satan in the White House, I'm like, we got a really nice man in Joe Biden and a really capable woman in Kamala who's lovely. And you guys want to talk about the amount of melanin she has and where the melanin comes from? Really? This is what we're doing. Everyone that has air in their lungs and lives in this country should be running to get a ballot and running to return the ballot so that we can get these good people in to fix what's wrong in this nation.
That's right. That's right. And I'm with you on that, especially having lived through the 2016 cycle, and people were like, oh, the lesser of two evils. And it's like, no. Black women warned you already. And now you have the Black woman who I'll never forget during the debate. She said, listen, I'm going to prosecute the case against Donald Trump. And to have her literally that close to being able to prosecute that case because of what he is doing. I mean, he's messing with our ability to vote by mail. This is literally the scariest thing.
Yeah, it's in the Constitution. What I've always loved about Kamala as a senator, and I'm in Ohio too, so I've always known of her. But when I really started paying attention to politics 5 years ago and started watching her move as a senator, the way she can get to someone, and she's very calm. She says what she has to say, but she's literally shanking somebody, with facts in the moment. She is unbossed, unbothered, unbowed. Everything about her just says, I am a Black woman. You will have to reckon with me. And I think, it's funny. I think part of me, if I'm honest, I don't know that I thought this was even possible, girl. Like, I don't even think that I dreamed big enough to imagine that. I knew that it needed to happen. I knew that it was time for it to happen. I wanted it to happen, but I don't know that I believed that it could. And so now that we have been given this opportunity to celebrate and support a beautiful, amazing woman, I just want everybody to get on board and know that, and show her that we have her back, because she's going to need us to have her back, not just to win, but for her to win, for them to win with her spirit and soul still intact. I don't want her to be talking in January or be up there for the inauguration and to be broken inside because of what she had to endure, because people are cruel. People are going to be cruel, but we need to show up and make sure that she knows we have her back.
No, that is so important to really protect Black women and our whole identity and self, because it is hard. It is labor intensive, which is why, we all as sister Greeks, we make jokes, but we are all riding for our sister, right? Yes. All of us want to make sure that she is protected in such a a vulnerable space. I said this over the weekend, that I want the Biden campaign to lean into her identity, because that is how she has been able to be so good in the Senate on reproductive justice issues, on climate issues, on so many issues that like you just need a Black woman's lens on. And for you to raise up that, like, to protect her so that she is not worn down when she is being sworn in, when we're all figuring out a way to get to DC in the midst of the pandemic.
You know this.
It's so true. It's so true. And so what is one of the things that you would love for folks to consider in that conversation about her, besides being scared that you're going to troll them and shut them down on Twitter? Like, what is the one thing, as we are having, because we should be able to have nuanced conversations about our electeds and our candidates, but like, how, just give us that call of the responsibility to being, to protecting who she is and her whole identity.
This is my main thing. Nobody that has walked this earth, except for one, has been perfect. So that means no matter who your candidate is at any given time, you can scratch the surface or dig and excavate and find something that you personally do not like. But this is not about your personal issues or what you personally need or what you personally require. It is about what this nation requires in this time. And more than anything, this nation requires decent people doing good work for the good of everyone. And that is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So we have already done the amount of time with someone that only thinks of himself and only thinks of rich people or only thinks of white people. What I know and what we even saw in the nights of the DNC so far, the Democratic Party is America. It's everybody. We're all involved. We're all accepted. We're all encouraged to be a part. So that means with this big melting pot of all this humanity, there's going to be some people that are more concerned about certain issues than others. There's going to be some people that have issues about, it doesn't matter. We have the chance to elect two decent people who want to fix this nation. So if there's something that's in their policy or on their platform that doesn't quite ring your bell, let's get them in and then let's talk about it. And the other thing that's important, we're talking about protecting Black women. There are a lot of Black women. You are one of them. Tiffany Cross, Joy Ann Reid. There's so many women that are on the front lines, right? Who are speaking up about all the things that we experience and all the things that Kamala's going to experience. We need to protect each other too. So don't just have Kamala's back. Have Latasha's back, have Brittany's back, have Midwin Charles's back, have Corinne's back. Everybody needs to show up for Black women in this time, because there are going to be a lot of Black women that are going to speak up for Kamala. And then that means all the trolls that will come for Kamala are then going to pile on to that person. So let's protect them too. Let's all just form a human shield of female Blackness, and brothers, you are welcome too. And let's protect each other. Let's be our brothers and sisters keeper in this time. Getting them in and over this hump is the only way anything is going to change. Systemic racism, we can talk about reparations. It's a whole bunch of stuff we want that we can talk about. Let's get them in. Because the other thing about Black women that we all know, we always vote for the greater good of everyone. And if we always vote for the greater good of everyone, you can imagine how we would govern.
You just gave the whole word, and like, we are pretty much out of time, because we got to go back to this party.
Okay.
I want to end on a light note.
Let's do it.
What are you most excited about having your soror in the White House? Like, what are you super excited about besides the strolling y'all gonna do all up in the White House?
I mean, I'm excited about how on Founders Day we gonna have the White House gonna be pink and green. You know how they put them lights up. Now, granted, she loves the Divine Nine, so everybody might get a couple of colors thrown up on their day. But I'm telling you, because we are the first and finest, we will be the first that year to get that pink and green beamed onto the White House, and I can't wait. Especially since our ancestors built it. Hello. It would be so nice to see, you know, our Blackness celebrated across that canvas. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
All that Blackness. I was on Instagram, there's this video, this guy was like, I hope Kamala doesn't make the cabinet come out in a probate. And I died.
She does.
Right. Do it for the culture. Well, sis, I love you. We're going to get back to this party. You keep doing it for all of us. We just thank you for your voice.
Thank you, sis. Yours too.
All right. We'll talk soon.
And to my soror, Yvette Brown. So we, Black women lead everywhere, as I said earlier. And our next conversation actually is a conversation with, if those don't remember, in 2016, Black women took over the DNC convention that year. That year it was in Charlotte. I mean, sorry, not Charlotte. That was my favorite DNC, by the way. It was in Philadelphia, and we had Black women leading in all roles, from the convention CEO to the interim chair to the secretary to the chair for the conference. And so we're in conversation with four amazing, I might have counted around 4 amazing or 5 amazing Black women, Leah, Daughtry, Donna Brazile, Stephanie Rollins Blake, Marcia Fudge, in conversation with one of Higher Heights board members, Latoia Jones.
Oh my God, thank you, MC Lyte. You are amazing. You are spinning it for us this evening. So I am so excited that we have some amazing women here with us today. You all are excited tonight to hear Kamala Harris speak as VP, but let me tell you, 2016 was all Black girl magic, and this crew put it together. So let me bring them out. We got we have Bishop and 2-time convention CEO, the Reverend Leah Daughtry. We have the Donna Brazile, interim twice over DNC chair. We have the former mayor of Baltimore and former secretary of the party. She gaveled the convention, and she was doing that thing. She did the roll call, Stephanie Rollins Blake. And we have the amazing, cannot untouchable, you can't mess with her, Congresswoman Marcia Fudge. Say, hey, we got that. So I'm so hyped to talk to these ladies. So I want to talk about what 2016 meant. So I know it was amazing. We had all this Black girl magic. Leah, you tell me what it meant for you.
Well, it was my second convention as the CEO, and so it's good to have the band back together again. And I don't know that I really knew that there was all this Black girl magic at one time until we were all on the stage together. And Congresswoman Fudge was the permanent chair of the convention, and Donna was the interim chair of the DNC, and Stephanie was the secretary of the convention. And I looked up, I said, it's all Black girls. Oh my goodness, this is a moment in time and a moment in history for our party. And I was just so honored to be part of the history. And sometimes, you know, when you're in the middle of it, you miss the moment because there's so much going on, and we were working and we had challenges, and so we had to put our heads together to figure out how we're going to solve some of the issues that were happening that day. But it was just, for me, a testimony to how far our party has come. From the days when Fannie Lou Hamer could not be seated at the convention in Atlantic City to now we were running it. All the 4 of us together, we were running the convention, and it was a testimony to what can happen when you know what your values are, when you're willing to fight for them. And that's exactly what Black women have been doing inside this party for so many years. And 2016, I think, was part of the apex and built the runway for now a new apex, which is to have Kamala Harris as the VP nominee.
Yes, yes. Congresswoman Fudge, as convention co-chair, how did you see your role, and how did it all come together for you?
Listen, let me just make something real clear. Leah ran the convention.
Yes, ma'am, she did that.
Clear about this. Now, to her credit, though, she made my life so easy. I went in some days early. She told me exactly what I needed to do. She involved me. I kind of had always been a fringe player, even though a member of Congress. I was never that very involved in the DNC, et cetera. But because of their support and their preparing me to be good at what I was trying to do, it became one of the highlights of my life. It was just such a great privilege to work with such professionals who had done it, who knew how to do it, who knew how to make it run, and it ran. Even when there were problems, nobody knew there was a problem because they took care of it. So to be in an environment with these great women was just something so special. I mean, it gives me chills to think about it, that I would have this opportunity, this Black girl from Cleveland, Ohio, this little girl who nobody thought would probably be much of anything, to be on that stage with these women was something so very special.
It was amazing. It was amazing. So Donna, you were the interim DNC chair at the time. Can you tell me what 2016 and the array of all Black women, shapes and sizes and colors, what did that mean for the party?
Well, it meant a great deal because not only were we about to witness history, we were also shaping history in that period of time. When I received the phone call 24 hours before the gavel was brought in, I was told that I would serve as interim chair, and it was like a gut punch. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And I went from being, you know, a vice chair, and Stephanie and I were officers of the DNC. Stephanie was the secretary. I was the first vice chair for civic engagement and voter participation. And so I immediately knew I had to reach out and I needed help. Of course, Leah was on my speed dial because I needed to check in with her. But I have to tell you this great story, because as we were driving into the arena, I think it was Wells Fargo Arena, I was so petrified. I knew I had bought a dress or two because, you know, I was ready for my TV because I normally do TV. So I knew I had a dress, but then I'm like, okay, I need hair and makeup. And I walked into the back of the room. Leah had just finished. She gave me my quote unquote script. But then I said, oh my God, I'm not ready. And she said, don't worry, because Stephanie and Marcia had already worked it out in terms of how we were going to gavel in the convention and how things were going to proceed. So I had a few hours to get myself ready to become the interim chair of the party. And I want to say to all of them, thank you. I mean, that was a heavy lift, but there's one story we have to laugh about. Latoia, you'll love this. Toward the quote unquote prime time hours, because you know the convention started around what, Leah, 7:30, 8 o'clock? It's toward the prime time hour. We looked around at the entire podium, and it was all Black women.
All Black women.
Like, where are the white folks? Oh my God, where are the white folks? I mean, Mignon was sitting next to me. Alexis was up there. Maxine Waters had come and sat down, and we're like,
Jackson Lee.
Sheila Jackson Lee, remember? And we're like, where are the white people? And here's Marcia Fudge and with her red on, her Delta. She was all prime and ready. And Stephanie had on the best spike heels sitting over there. And I'm sitting there looking, and I'm like, there are no white people.
When we scrambled, we said, we need some white people up here. We got to
see the white people. And that was that moment. I mean, God had put us all in that position, you know, from Baltimore, from Brooklyn, from Cleveland, and yes, from New Orleans. I mean, here we are with our stories and our love for democracy and justice on that stage worrying about white folks.
You know, my niece volunteered that convention. She was actually backstage helping, and she asked me later on, she's like, Auntie, is it always all these Black women? I was like, nah, baby, this is special right here. So the fact that my niece, who's a young girl, saw that and noticed that, it says how you all are moving history, how you all are shaping lives of young women. And I want to bring in somebody who has been doing the work from Baltimore to convention. Stephanie, let's talk about how it was doing a roll call and talking to all them states, and you were killing it. Them hills were killing. I still want to
killing it.
So first I want to say thank you so much, and I miss everyone. It's so good to see you all. Oh, this is bringing back such memories. Marcia, oh my God, we cut up during the convention, and Leah, oh, I was so very proud of what you were able to do. And Donna, there's not much that I can talk about on a Zoom call that we did. So it's good to see you. It's good to see you.
Yes.
The roll call of the states. So I grew up in politics in a political family, and I used to watch the conventions at home. I started going to the convention as a convention volunteer from '92 in New York. And I think I've only missed one convention, the Boston convention. And so from when I was young, the roll call of the states was just something that was so magical to me. So when I was asked to serve as secretary, I knew that that would be something I would do, and I was looking forward to it for almost 4 years because I was just so proud to represent the party, to really shine a light on the diversity and the strength of our party. And it again, it still gives me goosebumps. Like, I remember. Now, I will say, if we're are we being 100% honest in this?
Yes.
It was a hot mess with the crazy, you know, with the, I won't say which delegations, but y'all know which delegations were off the chain. And while I had a script that Leah's people were very kind to make sure I had everything that I needed at the podium, the script, they basically ripped it up as soon as I walked on, because there was one candidate who wasn't 100% sure he was going to concede. I'm not going to say any names because we're beyond that, but I'm just saying every single state, they were passing me another note saying, you know, you go to this state next, go to this state next, because they were trying to, you know, all of the work that I'm sure you guys were doing behind the scenes to make it smooth. I had to make it look like it was smooth. So it was my honor and my privilege to gavel and to do the roll call of the states. And I will remember that and cherish that forever.
Well, you ran it, it looked smooth. It was like without a hitch note from the other side. So Leah, as someone who actually, you led Denver, which was amazing, and you led Philadelphia, which was awesome. What does tonight mean for you?
Well, you know, this is sort of a bittersweet moment as I watched this convention, because we realized that our convention, the 2016 one, is probably the last of its kind. And I think it's fitting that it was Black Girl Magic all the way around at the 2016 convention. And I just want to shout out the other sisters who were in state delegations, who were so key and so critical to feeding us information on the podium.
Yes.
Karen Carter Peterson, Alice Huffman in California. These sisters who would send us notes and say such and such is happening, this is happening, so that we could quickly devise a plan for how we were going to navigate around potential challenges. And I watched last night the opening night of the convention, and we'll watch tonight, and I'll watch all 4 nights. And I realized that our convention, ladies, was probably the last of its kind. And so we'll hold that. But I'm enjoying this new hybrid kind of convention, what we've had to do to pay attention to the science and to keep our people healthy and to address the needs of the people. And how you bring Americans in and make this about ordinary Americans and hear their voices. So it's going to be quite interesting. And of course, I am waiting with bated breath to hear Kamala Harris and her speech on Wednesday night. I am ruing that we will not have a balloon drop on Thursday night to help celebrate Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but it's going to be a singular moment, I think, for all of us in Black America, particularly as we see a sister nominated to be Vice President of the United States. It's just a moment in history. I intend to, get my niece on the phone, she's 3, and make sure she watches, and all of the young women and young girls that I've been mentoring over the years, to just have us gathered around to watch this history-making, ceiling-breaking moment of this sister accepting the nomination. I can't wait. I just can't wait.
Latoya, I just want to jump in for a second. I want to see if Marcia remembers this. When we had to sign all of the papers at the end of the convention, and someone looked at the paper and said, this is probably the first and the last time that every signature is a Black woman. And I remember just sitting there looking at all of the papers lined up, and I just soaked it all in. It was magic. It was really, really, really Black girl magic.
You all did that. Given everything that's going on in the world and what's happening now, Congresswoman, can you tell us what's at stake for us tonight? What do we want to make sure that in all the fun we're having tonight and watching these conventions, what actually do we need to let people know is at stake for the election in November?
Let me say just two quick things. Just as I felt in 2016, being with all of these wonderful, marvelous, intelligent Black women, I feel today the same thing, which is a sense of pride, a sense of affirmation, of validation. And I think that is what I am going to feel when I see Kamala Harris walk onto that stage. I think it was Mignon or someone said that they have finally written us in history. And so I am just so very full about where we are going as a nation, because this could not have happened 10 years ago.
Amen.
This is the perfect time. This is our time.
Amen.
I feel so strongly that this is our time. Anytime it is the land that all people be treated equally, that justice means something, that every person has value and worth. It's our time. This is Kamala's time to stand before the people of the United States and say to them that things are changing. I am the future of the party. people who look like me, and to know that all the little, I have chills talking about it. So what we need to say to people is that the election starts today. We need for them to do whatever it takes. I don't care what rules they make, what they change. The election starts today, because if we want a future as a nation that would elect a person like Kamala Harris to say that Black people matter, women matter, we have to vote beyond our differences. I mean, there's no perfect person, but what I know is there are people who are better, and Kamala is better than what we've had in a very long time. So we have to vote.
Vote.org. Check your status, vote.org. Please check your registration status. And as the former First Lady said on the opening night of the convention, make plans now to vote. Don't wait until the last 2 weeks. Vote.
Yes, vote, vote, vote. So we only have a few minutes left. So what I want you all to do is tell me stories that you can say publicly and on the record about what was like your favorite memory of 2016. So we only have a couple minutes. So just let them know, like, what memory that you want people to know that encapsulates what happened in 2016 for you.
Can I start?
Yes, please.
My memory is before the convention started, a bunch of us were sitting around in the room behind stage, trying to figure out what we were going to do with the insurgents.
Oh, yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
And we finally decided we're not going to listen to anybody else, sisters. We just going to have to take it on and do it our own way. That's my
I remember that.
Yes, I remember that. And I went on the floor every evening to the delegations that were starting trouble. And I told them, if they had a problem, take it up with me, because I was the new sheriff, I was the chair. And I am so grateful that we had such a good floor operation. Thank you so much, Leah. But I want to say this, I did have my dress. Thank God I had a nice dress. And it was one of those dresses that allowed you to do that little thing at the end.
You did it too, you did it.
I did, baby. I backed it up and I put it up. And as I was walking off with my, I was trying to kick it back, and you know who I ran into? John Lewis. And Congressman Lewis said to me, "You did good." He said, "But we have work to do." So I want to dedicate this convention to a man who put us in the driver's seat, because he fought for us to have the right to vote. So thank you, John Lewis. Thank you, Shirley Chisholm. Thank you, Fannie Lou Hamer. Thank you, Jesse Jackson. Yes, thank you to Barbara Jordan and Carol Mosley Brown, and to members of the Congressional Black Caucus. Thank you for always caring about our future. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Leah and Stephanie, any last moments, any last memories you want to get to the people?
Can I just thank Leah for her having the Black Girl Glam Squad? She had us all hooked up. I was so concerned that they were going to have us out there looking pasty and crazy. And I got back there and they had the most talented artists, makeup artists, hairstylists that I've ever worked with. And every single sister that took that stage looked like they were runway ready. And I will never forget that.
That's true.
For the first time in convention history, we hired a Black Girl Glam Squad, a company that's owned by a Black woman, to do the hair and the makeup so that everybody complexions could look good. I think I have a couple of good memories. One was our floor operation.
Yeah.
Because every time we could see a problem, we had strategically had sisters everywhere. So whenever there was a problem that we heard about, I picked up my phone. I had the red phone, and I could call and say, "Okay, move in," and we would surround the.
It was like the Oval Office. You were like commanded, like you were in what's that? The comm room, the situation room.
Exactly. That was a great moment, and I think the closing night when the balloons fell, we all happened to be sitting next to each other, because we had moved all of the podium chairs off of the stage, so it was just Hillary on stage that night. But we were on the side of the stage, and we were all sitting next to each other. And I have the photos where the balloons were falling, and we were hugging each other and loving each other in the midst of all of that celebration. And that's a key moment for me. But my favorite moment of all of the conventions that I run really happens before the convention. And that's the night before. I go to the hall late at night. It's around midnight. No one is there. And I just walk through the seats and walk through every delegation and walk on the stage and remember the ancestors that made it all possible for us. In particular, Fannie Lou Hamer, who could not be seated in the convention in Atlantic City. And I call her name and I thank her.
They were all up in there. You could feel it.
And Rosa and Dorothy and Coretta and all these people who knocked down walls for us. And in the quiet of that arena, I just call their names out and give God praise for them and for their legacy that lives in each one of us and made our careers possible.
On that, thank you, ladies. Thank you, Leah. You were leading us. That was a word that we needed right now. Tonight, we're going to call their names as Kamala gets to the stage. Tonight, we are so blessed that all the work that you ladies have done is leading to this moment. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for everything you're doing. And thank you for the party. Thanks you. If they don't thank you enough, I'm thanking you on behalf of young Black women, old Black women. I'm thanking you all for the work you're doing. So thank you, ladies. Thank you for everything you continue to do. We're going to turn back over to MC Lyte and Glenda. You all have a good night. Thank you for joining us. Black Women Lead 2020. Go and vote. Vote now. Vote now. Vote now.
Marcia, Fudge, Donna Brazile, Bishop Leah, Daughtry, and Stephanie Rollins Blank. And of course, who led that conversation? My girl, Latoia Jones. So just a couple of pieces of housekeeping. If you haven't shared the feed, share the feed. We are already in formation, but we want to make sure we are in formation for the rest of the evening. And so we want to make sure that when the Senator Harris comes to the podium and makes history this evening, that our voices are heard. So you're going to follow the conversation with the hashtag Black Women Lead 2020 and hashtag win with Black women. And so we're going to be here all night, all coverage. If you want to stay on this, if you're watching this on the Zoom as an invited guest, you can stay here and watch the coverage live and be in community. We will also be streaming live for the rest of the evening, the full coverage, and you can be in community through the Facebook feeds. And then meet back if you can stay up, because I go to bed early, but I am up all night at 11 o'clock, The Spin, which is a new online live stream hosted by Tracy Sturdivant from the League, Fatima Goss Graves from the National Women's Law Center, Adrian Shropshire from Black Pack, Judith Brown Dianis from the Advancement Project, and myself. We are hosting a Black Women Lead Spin Room hosted by the SIP. So stay tuned all evening. So we didn't say this before. We want to know where you are watching from. So go into the feed and say what city, state, and because we are all still practicing social distancing, what part of your house? So I'm in my office, same place I normally am on a Zoom. So next, songwriter, artist, singer, St. Louis born, New York based, Lisa Ramey has a message and a song for us.
Hi everyone, I'm recording artist Lisa Ramey. And I'm so thrilled to be a part of Black Women Lead 2020 and thankful for the work Higher Heights does for all of us. Deeply empowered by the Black Lives Matter movement and inspired by the life of Miss Fannie Lou Hamer, I was actively involved as a political surrogate for Senator Harris's primary campaign in 2019. So I couldn't be more proud to be a strong Black woman in this very moment, holding space with all of my beautiful Black and brown sisters and our allies joining us tonight as we wait for Senator Harris to accept the nomination of Vice President. Our 2 steps forward in the fight for equality sometimes feels like 1 step back, but we must keep going. Show up and support each other, because as Miss Hamer once said, there is one thing you have got to learn about our movement. 3 people are better than no people. Let's all find 2 other people. Find a friend who is not registered to vote. Find a friend who is a disenfranchised voter. Find that friend with a car who can drive all y'all friends to the polls on November 3rd. And let's keep this movement going, because when Black women lead, get out of the way.
I want to ask you a question, and that is, what is in your life's blueprint.
I wanna leave my footprint on the sands of time. Know there was something that I left behind. When I leave this world, I leave no regrets. Leave something to remember so they won't forget I was here. I lived, I loved, I was here. I did, I've done everything that I wanted, and it was more than I thought it would be. I will leave my mark so everyone will know I was here. I wanna say I lived each day until I died, and know that I meant something in somebody's life. The hearts I have touched will be the proof that I leave, that I made a difference, and this world will see I was here.
Our country has waited too long.
I lived, I loved, I was here. I did, I've done everything that I wanted, and it was more than I thought it would be. I will leave my mark so everyone will know I was here. I lived, I loved, I was here. I did, I've done everything that I wanted, it was more than I thought it would be. I will leave my mark so everyone will know I was here. I just want them to know that I gave my all, did my best, brought someone some happiness, let this world a little better just because I was here.
One day we won't have all of this to do.
It's this America, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Continue the long march of those who came before us. A march for a more just, more equal, more free, more caring, and more prosperous America.
Of Beyonce's I Was Here. I think it is a powerful statement. Black women have always been here. We've put more into this democracy than we've gotten back, and we are certainly claiming our seats at decision-making tables and demanding policies that center Black women, our families, and our community. Our next conversation are between two actual girlfriends, two actual sorors, and two Black women leading. Alexis McGill-Johnson, the president of Planned Parenthood Action Fund, Star Jones, for a conversation about sisterhood in service.
Hey, soror. Hey, soror. What's going on? Kiwi girl. Oh my gosh.
Any news? You heard any news this week?
Well, I mean, unless you've been hiding under a rock, it is so wonderful that our sister soror is going to be the next vice president of the United States. You know how we feel. We put it right out there for the universe to just embrace it.
Going to be the next vice president and will be on the road to be the next Democratic nominee for president.
Absolutely. You know, and it's so interesting what this means for Black women. I've heard constantly that this is sort of an honor of the ancestors. If we think about just the women who paved the way to get Senator Kamala Harris to this, and she was so eloquent when she talked about it, you know, from Sojourner Truth to Harriet Tubman to Fannie Lou Hamer to our Sora Coretta Scott King to Shirley Chisholm, the great United States representative who paved that path first. These are the women whose shoulders that Senator Harris stand on. And I'm just so proud as an AKA, as you can see, pink everything. I think I've been in pink since the moment they announced it, to add her name to the list of those amazing women.
I mean, and she was already a part of those amazing women in that legacy, right? I mean, she's already always been a leader who has been incredibly passionate about racial justice, about reproductive justice, around making sure our democracy is functioning, you know. And you think about not just the passion that she brings, but just the raw intellect and the spine, right? Remember when she was taking down Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh in those hearings?
Oh, yes, girl, it was almost like watching one of my episodes of Law and Order, because you literally saw a prosecutor show what they can do. And which always, you know, she and I have that so much in common, because we started our careers as young prosecutors. And we used to always say, no, we started our careers as public servants who worked in the criminal justice system. And it was actually working in. So watching her question Brett Kavanaugh, watching her question Barr, watching her question anybody is a sight to behold, girl.
Anybody. No, that's so right. And I think it's that skill set that is going to serve her well. It's going to serve her well if they do if she debates at all with Pence, if he even deigns to get on stage with her.
Right. If his wife lets him, because remember, he doesn't go places without his wife if he's got to be with a woman. So that's going to be kind of interesting.
That is going to be quite interesting. Luckily, it'll probably be socially distanced, right? It'll probably
be socially distanced.
Zoom, so you can sit next to him at home.
So I'm curious about with you, Alexis, because as the leader, one of the leaders in reproductive rights and women's health, having a woman who has Senator Harris's sensibilities, sensitivities, and cultural competence has to be something that you're looking forward to.
Oh, completely. Look, I think that we're in a moment right now where the outside game is as strong as the leadership that we see on this ticket, right? We have an incredible reflective democracy that's happening, a reflective movement that's happening across the country, whether we're talking about the fight for reproductive rights, whether we're talking about this kind of racial justice reckoning moment that we're in, whether we are talking about the kind of reform that we need to see in policing. And quite frankly, we are also in a pandemic where COVID has completely laid bare all of the disparities that we've seen across race lines. And so, to have somebody like Senator Harris step in to be to be a voice and give voice to that. So it's like the skill set to prosecute the moment is going to be really important, but we also need to really do is elevate and give voice to the moment. And so I'm incredibly excited. I know, in the conversations that I've had with her on, the Reproductive Rights Act that she put forth, which essentially looks like the VRA, modeled after the VRA and pre-clearance around protecting access to Roe. Those are the kinds of innovative, bold ideas that we need to, basically to defend, the right to control our own bodies. And so, I just look at Senator Harris as someone who I know is going to stand very firmly with us. And she's going to stand and continue to learn and listen and evolve on so many issues. And so, it's going to be fierce.
Yeah, and as I started to think it through, I just thought, you know, the village that she brings. So she brings the wealth of knowledge. Obviously, she brings the executive acumen. As I was looking at just her record, I realized she's literally led in a statewide election, having held office in a statewide election for 12 years. So first, obviously, as the Attorney General for the state of California, and then now as Senator in the United States Senate. Before then, obviously, as District Attorney of San Francisco, having been the AG, she ran literally the second largest Justice Department in the United States, only behind the actual Department of Justice in Washington. So you just think about just the wealth of executive acumen, somebody who's had to make the really tough decisions, but has been able to stand steadfast in those decisions, to actually direct large staffs, to control large amounts of money and budget. This is not going to be foreign to our sister. This is something that she knows how to do and knows how to do it very, very well.
Absolutely. And, you know, and to the earlier point that she also has an incredible community and movement community with her who is willing to engage with her and meet with her in so many ways. You know, I know there was a lot of conversation in the lead up to, you know, in our own kind of beep stakes conversations that we were having. I would love to hear from you as someone who is sitting at the center in the, you know, in a small group of Black women who are really organizing and strategizing around why it was so critical for the vice president to pick a Black woman as vice president. So for like vice president, future vice president. What can you talk a little bit about what that process was like? And can you give us a little bit insight into, you know, into some of the critical questions and moments that you guys were having?
You know, it's very interesting that you asked that because as you might expect, I went about it very methodically. So this conversation, I've been obviously a Kamala Harris stan from day one, from absolutely day one. But as we came together as Black women, once the vice president decided that he was going to and was committed to picking a woman, we thought, okay, we get together for a lot of different issues, but if he's going to pick a woman, we know historically, and Donna Brazile was our great historian during this conversation. We know historically that Black women, the last time this was a real option was with Mondale. And when Mondale was selecting a vice presidential running mate, Black women's names were not even a part of the conversation. Mm-hmm. And so Donna, who was working very intimately during that time, remembered some of the comments that some of the US representatives, so you think about Patricia Harris, the brilliant Patricia Harris was there during that time. Barbara Jordan was there during that time. Shirley Chisholm was there during that time, but their names were never even mentioned. Yeah. So when we came together, we said, you know what, we're not going to be erased this time, especially given what Black women have already brought to the table. So we wanted to first make the argument that this should be a pick based on credentials and not cosmetics, as some rude person actually wrote about, quote, a Black pick would be for cosmetics. No, it would not. It would be based in credentials. So we were first looking at what credentials, and then that really opened the floodgates, because as you are aware, Alexis, so many Black women leaders were on the list that Vice President Biden had on his list. Yeah. And we didn't even have to supply you with a name, okay? He already knew just the amazing sisters that were a part of the leadership in the United States that could have stepped in. So then what we looked at is, what are going to be the things that the next administration is going to have to deal with? Mm-hmm. And I know it sounds nerdy, but I put together a list of 20 areas, everything from poverty to intergovernmental administration, to executive acumen, to criminal justice, to education, to economic recovery, to the COVID aftermath. And so there were literally 20 categories. And then we went through who of the names that were being mentioned checked all the boxes. And I can tell you, if you put yourself through that exercise, Senator Kamala Harris comes out on top in every single time you go through the exercise. And so this was a logical, practical, experienced position to go in and make that argument. The second thing is when we wanted to look at, with Black women, what we bring with us.
Yes,
To
that's
the
right.
table for an election. So again, we went back to our historians, Mignon Moore and Leah Daughtry. Leah's acumen as, you know, the former head of the Democratic Convention twice, she was CEO, having her there to talk about what the electoral college map looked like, how we could make certain states competitive again, how it would be important in those swing states to bring out the African-American community, especially in a COVID environment. So I don't want anybody to think that this was we just want a Black woman. No, it was not. It was absolutely, we want the very best candidate, and the very best candidate is a Black woman. And that's what we brought to the table.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, that's what we saw. And we know that we're going to have to do a lot of work to make sure that she is supported and that the ticket is supported in ways against so many of the, you know, we already know how racial bias operates in media. We know how gender bias operates in the media. And the fact is, we have not had a Black woman in recent times engaging in the kind of media that we have now, right? When Shirley Chisholm was running, there was no Twitter, there was no Facebook, there was no TikTok, there was none of all of that clownery, you know, that exists in the ways in which they use and weaponize these platforms in order to take people down. And so knowing how powerful we are as a Black community on these various medium, and knowing the kind of alignment that we have around important ways to push back, because we know all the tropes, because we've been through all of them, regardless of if we were running for office or whether or not we were just, you know, working our way up a corporate ladder or at a law firm or as a DA or running a nonprofit, right? We know when someone says, and someone said this yesterday on TV, they said, you know, she's smart, but she's also aggressive and articulate. I said,
You know that makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. This woman who has achieved at every level.
Yes.
Why would it be a surprise to you that she would be articulate?
That's just like a baseline, right? I mean, the fact that she was actually a prosecutor, an attorney general, and a senator, and she's, you know, essentially, you know, on the judiciary community, judiciary committee, talking to Brett Kavanaugh, you know, laying out arguments, right? These are ways in which, you know, of course, we have to be able to string two sentences together.
You think? Being articulate is literally the foundation of which you build upon. It is not something that you need to compliment someone of her accomplishments at this point. I'm just also struck because it's something that you just said, Sora, that really is impressive to me. We're going to have to surround her, not just from just the negativity, but with some positivity. And that's what I think is really important right now. You know, the sorors are all in, no question whatsoever. Alpha Kappa Alpha has all of the sorors in pink and in green, and it will be that way through Election Day. But the cool part about it is, I have spoken to my sisters from every single other sorority and all the members of the Divine Nine, and everybody is about embracing this nominee, embracing this pick, saying to themselves, this is our sister and we got her back. This is who we're going to surround with love and support, and we're going to push back if you come after her, because if you come after her, you come after us. And this is the village that she is going to bring to the table.
That's right. I mean, that you said it. We got her back, and come for one, come for all, because we will be right there. And I think that is exactly what this moment calls for. We are in a moment where our communities are literally being devastated.
Yes.
Devastated by COVID, devastated by the economy, told that our bodies are essential and that we must show up to work, and yet we're not allowed to control our bodies in all other kinds of ways. We know if we don't do this, and we don't do this right and show up and show out, the way we do, it's going to be a long, long, long winter.
It is
So-
really important for everybody to know just how important this election is. This election is literally the election of our lifetime. It will determine what our court system looks like across the board, and not just the Supreme Court, but the district courts and the appellate courts. These are the things that impact on generations. And so voting, I should say not voting is not an option.
Not an option.
Not an option.
It's everything. It's the economy. It's our healthcare. It is all of these reckonings that we are amid, and we're going to show up and we're going to do it. We're going to take good trouble, just like Congressman John Lewis told us to do, and we're going to make sure we show up and support her in the name of all of the extraordinary women who have been fighting at every turn. I'm so happy I got a chance to talk to you, Ski-Wee Sora.
Ski-Wee Sora. I will meet you on the battleground, girlfriend.
I will see you.
I stand here now without endorsements from many big name politicians or celebrities or any other kind of prop. I do not intend to offer to you the tired and glib cliches which for too long have been accepted part of our political life. I am the candidate of the people of America.
The vision of Higher Heights is truly part of what should be the vision of who we are and can be as a country. It is an organization that is giving encouragement, giving support, giving a welcome, a big welcome to Black women to be actively involved, knowing that when you take the first step, Higher Heights will be there to stand with you each step along the way.
I had no political network. I had never run for office. I had no money and really had a lot of questions. Higher Heights was just the organization I was looking for.
Literally, how do you run for Congress? It's something that has not been taught, but there definitely is a strategy. There's a pathway that is clearly laid out if you're privy to that information.
It's so difficult for new candidates to raise the money and to get the support that they need to run for office because today's candidate doesn't look like yesterday's candidate.
There are two organizations that stood with me immediately. Higher Heights has been with me as I've been on this journey.
They didn't wait. Higher Heights did not wait until it was popular to support me. They, very early on, we need to support you now, and we need to help you be better and help you stand tall and give you the resources and the information that you need in order to make this happen.
Black Women Lead isn't just a hashtag, it's a truth.
Right.
And it's a truth that sometimes even our allies forget.
Let's just be honest. So many times we are not asked to run. We are not invited to these tables.
For a long time, Black women have been leading from the back, and for the first time, we're seeing them shining in the political arena.
We are candidates who have offered messages that are deeply resonant, stories that are transcendent, and that people relate to and connect to and with and about.
We need people in our state legislatures and in Washington that have lived the very experiences that people are crying about and suffering under in their own communities.
I get really annoyed when people talk about empowerment because we are already internally empowered. We just need people to step out of the way so that we can step into our power.
We are not a fad. We are here to stay, and we are here to say, not because we're trendy, but because we're damn good.
So many times in my life and in my career, I've been told that it can't be done, that nobody like me has done it before.
They accused me of operating with a sense of entitlement.
That people aren't ready.
People told me when I first entered this race, your community doesn't vote anyway.
They said that this was all about identity politics.
Or they say, well, wait your turn, and I just don't listen.
Don't ever let anybody tell you what you can't do.
And that's what makes groups like Higher Heights so special. This network of Black women around the country pooling together resources to uplift our own and send more Black women to Congress. It's so powerful.
Because their investment, their resourcing, their amplifying, their platforms, their Twitter town halls, all of these things that they do get us one step closer to being the beneficiaries of that change that is afoot and being leaders in that change.
Representation matters, and Higher Heights for America lifts up our voices, spotlights our candidacies, and helps us raise these critical resources so that we can win.
It showcases some of our amazing Black women leading, from Stacey Abrams to Kamala Harris to what we call the freshman five, the 5 new Black women that were elected on the 50th anniversary of Shirley Chisholm's great run. And so if you're watching this, we want to know, are you running for office? Let us know. You thinking about running for office? I know that Cynthia Wallace from North Carolina, who's running for Congress, Nikema Williams running for Congress in Georgia. I think Tashura Jones, the city treasurer of St. Louis, is watching. There are Black women leading all across this country, and we want to know about you. So hype up yourself tonight and let us know if you're running or if you're just thinking about running. Our next panel is literally talking about how do we expand Black women's political leadership, with Ashanti Golar from Emerge, Stephanie Brown James from the Collective PAC, and Ayanna Pressley, Congresswoman from Massachusetts. She attended our first very event at Higher Heights. It was our first event we ever did. It was with BET, with Janine Liebert, Deborah Lee, Sonia Lockett, who helped us coordinate an activity, a brunch on the 50th anniversary of Shirley Chisholm running for, was it 50th anniversary running for 45th anniversary of Chisholm running for president. It was the 2012 Democratic Convention, and BET has been with us from the very beginning. We are so happy that they have partnered with us tonight to bring this conversation. And we cold called Ayanna Pressley, and she came to that event, and we're so, so proud of her leadership. So take a listen. I am so excited about talking to some of my girlfriends. We have been longtime conspirers and confidants and supporters. This evening we have Ashanti Golar, the president of Emerge, Stephanie Brown James, the co-founder of Collective PAC, and my fave, Representative Ayanna Pressley. We're going to tell the story of how we met in this, but welcome to the Black Women Lead 2020 reception. Thanks for stopping by for this historic night. I know we're all popping around to different activities and events virtually, but I'm so happy that you're able to be in community. We're particularly going to talk about this moment as relates to Black women continuing to extend our elected leadership. We have a record number of Black women running for Congress this cycle, and a record number of Black women who have actually become the nominees of their parties, both Republicans and Democrats. There are major numbers. And so although we celebrate that, we know that there are still obstacles in place when Black women step off the sidelines to run for office. I see Congresswoman shaking her head like, mm-hmm. And so I want to start with my friend who I met at our first event that we cold called Ayanna Pressley, who was a newly elected city councilor in Boston. She was the first woman of color to ever hold that position. And she'll talk about the historic gains since her historic election. And she came to a little event that we had in Massachusetts, and we've become great friends. We were so excited to follow her journey in her leadership all the way to Washington and wherever else it may take her. And she hosted one of our most amazing events that I still cry when I watch the footage, because she has a vision to expand the number of Black women across this country. So welcome, Congresswoman. It's hard to call that Congresswoman. We're trying to be formed Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. Okay, Ayanna.
Well, I mean, first of all, you have to tell the whole truth. You haven't followed my journey. You helped to shape that journey. And so I thank you for being early believers and investors, and for pouring into me and making those historic victories possible. This is movement building work. And so I thank you for honoring the long tradition of Black women, and not just the iconic ones like a Fannie Lou Hamer or a Shirley Chisholm, but the Black women in our communities, in our families, in our churches, who sent a plate, who sent up a prayer, who Vaselined an elbow and a knee. You've been all of that. And so I thank you, and I'm thrilled to be with you this evening.
Great. So tell a little bit about, this is, you're 2 years in. You ran one of those races that everybody was watching. I was there for that night that you won your primary. When we kept going, like if you had to we won, I was right along with you in the big room. So what has this journey been to get to this night, and how do you feel about this night? Because I know Shirley Chisholm, we talk about Shirley Chisholm all the time. They can't see your full print, but she's right over your shoulder.
Yeah, she's right over my shoulders.
And over my shoulder.
Yeah, she's right over my shoulder and my heart. And, I grew up in a household where my mother did not read me traditional bedtime stories. She read me the speeches of Shirley Chisholm and Barbara Jordan. And so it is a very full circle that the office Longworth 1108 that I now occupy in the house used to be her office. So, all types of good mojo. We're bringing Shirley into the room. But, when you think about, I'm so looking forward to this evening and hearing from the senator. And, I've been participating in a number of events, as have all of you, on the centennial of the 19th Amendment. And of course, we know that Black women were allies in that fight, even though we did not earn the right to vote until 55 years later. And so now in 2020, for Senator Harris to be on the top of the ticket, this is reflective of more than a moment. This is about a movement. And frankly, if we can take an honest look at our history, Black women have been the most reliable voting constituency for the Democratic Party for decades. The table shakers, the disruptors, the preservers of democracy, the architects of social change since the very inception of this country. So this is a pay us what you owe us moment. You can't have a representative democracy if all the people are not represented. And I never want to give short shrift to the historical significance of her being a first, but she's had a history of being a first. And I remember shortly after my election to the Boston City Council, as the first woman of color, the first Black woman to serve on that body in its 100-year history, people would often ask me, so who's better served by your election, Black folks or women? And I would say everybody, because Black women have always understood that none of us are free until all of us are free. So this is a collective victory. And I've always maintained that the people closest to the power should be the people closest to the pain, should be the closest to the power, driving and informing the policymaking. And who knows more pain than Black women? And so to have someone that has been in proximity to that hurt, like Senator Harris, that will bring that lens to every table, to every decision, is incredible. And we saw that the impact of that when she was a senator, leading the fight in the Black maternal mortality crisis, introducing legislation around uterine fibroids, a health disparity, one that disproportionately impacts Black women, including many that are a part of this discussion this evening. So we know the power of that proximity is very important, and we're lucky to have her.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Black women bring our lived experiences to decision-making tables. And Ayanna literally, I had a fibroid surgery now, I guess 2 years ago, and she literally texted and checked on me to make sure that I was actually doing my bed rest. And it's just something when she introduced that, it just spoke. I know that if it spoke to me, it spoke to the Black women across the country. And that's what happens when we show up at decision-making tables. Now, Stephanie and Quentin James, we probably, our organizations are like twins. Like we started around the same time.
Yep.
We were waddling around the same time. And, one thing that Senator Harris said a couple of years ago to Kimberly Peeler Allen, our other co-founder, and I was, did you know you were going to build organizations for a time as this? And I certainly believe that we had the visions and toiled in the fields to build the incubators for this moment. So a little bit about how you're feeling, how the work connects around building Black women's political, well, y'all build Black political power that happens to be centered by Black women's power.
For sure,
But
absolutely.
how do you feel in this moment?
And I have to remind my husband every day that it is definitely centered in Black women's power. Hello, honey. But yeah, I'm just so grateful to be a part of this conversation. As you mentioned, Glenda, I could have never imagined where the collective would be 4 years from when we first started and before the elections of 2016. And if anything, I am most grateful that we have been able to really be responsive to the times. And that ain't nothing but God. I'm just be honest. Like he continues to lay our path where it needs to be in service in a way that we can help to build the Black political power that we need, which at the end of the day, we're working towards equity. We're working towards equity in the democratic process because Black people need to be represented, not just by numbers, but we need to be represented by people who understand what we've been through and where we need to go. Because if we are going to change the laws in this country, we must change the lawmakers. And for Black people, we have to continue to build that power by supporting Black candidates that are working tirelessly every single day, like Ayanna Pressley, to make sure that she can help progress all people forward, but centering it in making sure that Black people have the progress that they need. And so, 4 years later, we have been able to help, endorse hundreds of candidates. We've been able to train over 1,000 Black people interested in running for office. We've raised over $12 million to make sure that we can help build that Black political power. And just this year, we've endorsed 75 Black women on the local, state, and federal level to win their races in November. And so I am excited about the work ahead and to continue to partner with you all on this journey too.
Great. And then can we all say how so proud we are about Ashanti Golar?
Yes.
And her becoming the president of Emerge this year. It is important for Black women's leadership to show up in many spaces. And so it is something about her leadership showing up in this national space, bringing her unique voice as a Black woman to an organization that actually services all women from all types of backgrounds. And her leadership was built for a time as this, as we work to center Black women's leadership in a variety of spaces. And so Ashanti, thanks for stopping by and share a little bit about, Emerge. Emerge is, a premier training program. And so for us, it's about how do we ensure that we're training Black women to run for local offices. We always spend a lot of time talk about the kind of the shiny national platform, but like, how do we really train Black women to step into their power on the very local level?
Yeah, so excited to be in community with y'all tonight to hear from Senator Harris. And when I think about her, she literally is the story of Emerge. Our founders helped with her first DA race. And they were so inspired by her that they wanted to create an organization to literally help build more Kamalas. They wanted to see more women in office. And when we look at her path from being a local DA to Attorney General, to being in the Senate, to now being the vice presidential nominee, that is what we want to see. We just don't want to see women at the local level. We want to see them rise, just like we saw Congresswoman Pressley rise. But Congresswoman Pressley, Senator Harris, they just don't get there and say, all right, I'm good. They lift as they climb. And that's what we saw with Kamala too. She brought so many women to the Emerge program. So many of our Black women, Indian women are inspired by her leadership. And that's what we need during this time for women, especially Black women, to see, here's someone who was counted out in every single race that she ran. People said that she couldn't do it, and she did it. And now we get to watch her deliver her acceptance speech tonight. This is the best time for Black women's leadership, but I also like to say this isn't a wave. I don't like when people describe it that way. This is a movement. This is us taking our seats at the table, taking our power, owning our power, and continuing to see more Black women serving in elected office.
And then this evening,
I just want to read, Ashanti, love you, sis, and thank you for making that point. And as I've said so many times before, I would never give short shrift to Black girl magic. But what we as candidates and elected officials and lawmakers know a lot more about is Black woman work. And we have been putting it in. And so this is not about flukes or anomalies or magic. This is about movements, and this is about work, and we have been putting it in.
Amen.
That probably was going to be your parting answer to my question anyway, Congresswoman. I was going to say, if for the thousands of Black women watching this tonight who are going to be so filled up with emotions and ready to take action, doubting their own leadership. Like this is, you know, this panel is talking about elected leadership, but this evening is about Black women's collective political leadership. And that can be my best friend who is making sure her whole crew is ready to vote, to those who are, you know, activists and protesters and policymakers, to elected leaders. What is your advice to all three of you? We'll go from the Congresswoman first because she might have to pop. What's the advice about harnessing this energy forward so that we can build an America that we can all believe in?
Well, I think that we often define civic engagement as running for office and voting, and that those are the only two options. We do want you to certainly vote, and in every election, my mother taught me early on that being a super voter was our superpower. And despite the fact that there were many reasons living in the residual aftermath of draconian discriminatory policies like redlining and the failed war on drugs and other destabilizing factors in our household, that despite all of that, she made sure to tell me that on election day especially, that we were powerful. I believed her then, and I still do. And so of course we want you to consider running for office because we need your lived experience. We need people who have been in proximity at the policy and decision-making tables. But I also want to say that I believe that Black Lives Matter and Black Power matters and Black representation matters. And I believe that Black staffers matter. And so there are many opportunities to be the person behind the person. I did that for 4 years working for a member of the House, and then 11 years working for a member of the United States Senate. And that is also very rewarding and very meaningful. And then I have to give it up again to the table shakers, to the activists, to the prayer warriors, to the agitators, to the artists, to the creatives. We all have a role to play in the movement. And then I'll close here and say that we find ourselves in a moment of national reckoning. And I believe in the words of Reverend Barber, who said that this reckoning demands a reconstruction. And so we need all of you to cast a ballot, to be community builders, and to play an active role in this shaping of a new society that will center equity and justice. And I know that Senator Harris, I look forward to hearing her vision this evening, but one thing I know for sure is that she will be compassionate, she will be a committed and engaged partner. We need to support her, and we need to challenge her too. And I know that she will welcome that as well. Her election, which we're going to fight to make sure happens, is not a destination, it is a door. So we're going to have to continue to build community, continue to build power, because we don't just do that for an election cycle.
Great, thank you. And thanks for stopping by.
Thank you. I'll see y'all. Sorry.
See you later. No problem. Good to see you, sis.
Thanks, everyone. And
I question America. Is this America?
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution.
So many times in my life and in my career, I've been told that it can't be done.
I am the candidate of the people of America.
Or they say, well, wait your turn, and I just don't listen.
Today I am an inquisitor.
Can you give me a yes or no answer, please?
Yes or no, please, sir.
Be sure about your answer, sir. I've only had one client in my entire life, and that's been the people. In fact, the first day I walked into a courtroom, I spoke 5 words. Kamala Harris for the people.
Thank you for joining hashtag Black Women Lead 2020 pre-party and conversation. It's about time for the gavel in for this special night. We hope you will stay tuned. You can stay right here and be part of our watch party and participate live. If you jump off, come back at 11 o'clock for the hashtag Black Women Lead spin room hosted by the SIP. Use the hashtag tonight, hashtag Black Women Lead 2020 and hashtag Win with Black Women. We need to rise up and have our voices heard in this important evening. And We are at the end, but we are going to get our dance on just one more time. So thank you to all of the Higher Heights members. May you be longstanding or just joining. And if you're interested in learning more about Higher Heights, go to our website, higherheightsforamerica.org. I've done a wardrobe change for the evening, and I know many of you are wondering where the shirts came from. Go to that website. Thank you to our partners. BET always shows up. So thank you, BET and BET Her. Thank you to our partners at The Collective, at Black Pac, National Action Network, NAACP, Emerge, and all of those who, Sister Lead, Sisters Vote, and all of our partners who showed up to make this possible. So the Democratic Convention is underway, and it's Black Girl Magic Night, y'all. Kerry Washington is hosting, and you're staying right here for coverage. You can continue to chat in the Zoom room and on the Facebook feed. We are here for the night, and let's get it on. Thank you to BET Her. You can, if you're wearing a Black Woman Lead t-shirt already and you haven't taken a picture for this red carpet night, take your pick and tag at BET Her and at Higher Heights and at Higher Heights on Instagram, and use hashtag Black Women Lead 2020 and hashtag Win with Black Women. Let's get it on. Well, y'all, that was great. We are about to, like, I'm a little speechless, but we are about to do a Black woman spin room. We are fired up. I see that in the chat room. We are saying we are fired up and we're ready to go. Black Women Lead 2020. What an amazing evening, an amazing speech. I look forward to having a conversation with my SIP hosts and 5 amazing, well, actually 6, because we have a special guest, 6 amazing women that are going to be able to debrief us and be in dialogue about what this night meant to them. We're going to look at Senator Harris's speech, the now Vice President nominee for the Democratic Party. And we look forward to you being engaged in this conversation. So let's invite people back. Share this feed to your network and let them know that we're having a Black Woman Lead spin room conversation about this evening. And use the hashtag Black Women Lead 2020. Let's see, I believe our hosts are back and will be coming on camera soon. That is Tracy Sturdivant, Adrian Shropshire, Judith Brown Dianis, and Fatima Goss-Graves should be visiting us soon, but we're going to hold and we're going to start shortly. So if you don't know what the SIP is a new online programming brought to you by 5 national organizations led by 5 amazing Black women. Your SIP host, Tracy Sturdivant from the League, Adrian Shropshire from Black Pac, Judith Brown Dianis from the Advancement Project, National Office, and Fatima Goss-Graves from the National Women's Law Center. And so welcome to Black Women Lead Spin Room, powered by the SIP, the place where Black women come to be informed, engaged, and to take action on our road to 2020. And so before we bring on our special guest, ladies, well, actually not even do that, because I love the special guest and we need her to come in and reflect. So we're going to bring in Congresswoman Lisa Blount Rochester from Delaware. Yay. Yay, Congresswoman.
Goodness. Wow.
Yeah. All the feels, all the feels.
I have no words tonight. I don't know about you, but when she said, I accept your nomination, Vice President of the United States, everything became real for me. I have no words tonight. The months leading up to this moment, the decades and centuries leading up to this moment, it all became real. And the way that she was able to communicate all of the things that many of us have been thinking and feeling and processing, and I mean, for years, whether you work in advocacy, whether you're a mom, whether you are just felt like nobody saw you or heard you, it was that full representation before the world on display, and all of the embodiment of all of us. And it finally hit me. I feel like even through the convention and leading up to it, many of us kind of go. But it sunk in, the importance of that moment, and even how she brought in the family aspect of it, and that the family that we have is broader than just our immediate family or our external family. It is HBCUs, it is the Divine Nine, it is the CBC, I mean, we have family. And this was a real moment for family. And it truly was spectacular. And then to go out on Mary J. Blige, I mean, it is just, I want to thank you all so much again for being on this journey and for tonight, but also recognizing that she said something in there too about Joe and I at the back, and the fact that we're going to have their back. Yeah. And that was what the commitment was anyway. Right. We know what we do. Now it's time to do it. And so I just wanted to jump on tonight. I didn't know how I would feel in this moment, but I just wanted to say thank you, because as Kamala said, it's not about she and Joe, it's about you, it's about us, it's about we. And so I'm just grateful tonight. That's it, that's the word, grateful. Yeah. Grateful. And I'm trying to let this soak in. I'm not going to even, I just need to let this soak in. I'm going to dream about this. I'm going to feel all the feels. And I am just grateful to all of you for being a part and letting me be part of this journey as well. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Grateful to you for your leadership in this process, right? Yeah. We don't know what all happened behind the scenes to get to this point. I suspect when she said I accepted, like it means something else to you as someone who was a part of the committee who helped to vet all of the magnificent candidates or applicants, for this like really important job in this moment. So thank you, gratitude for you and your leadership and you being in the room when it happened. So just really appreciative for you.
Thank you.
Wonderful to have a sister on the inside, that's for sure.
You can write the book.
The SIP just wants a little, just like a piece of real estate in that book.
You get a whole block. What are you talking about? Not a building. You get the block.
Well, she still has to come back for happy hour though.
Yeah. I am waiting for that. Okay, just let me know. I'm ready for happy hour. I am ready for
November 3rd.
You gotta bring back the Scrapple vodka though.
Well, because it's off the hoof. So
now you might have a lot more to do this evening, but if you want to hang in the Black Women Lead Spin Room, please stay. We're gonna bring on
Melanie Campbell from Sister and Sister Boat.
Yes,
Take
yes.
a headache.
I need to get ready for, I have some spin stuff that I have to do on the other side here, as well as some Delaware stuff, but I am so thankful. And I just wanted to come on and say thank you for allowing me to like feel this moment right now. And I'm glad you're recording it, because I think all of us will, this is a surreal night. So thank you again. And I look forward to the work. Let's do the work.
That's
Thank you, Congresswoman.
And Ashanti Golar from Emerge. Hey.
Hey.
Well, I don't know about you all. I mean, gratitude is one word, but definitely felt proud this evening, right? There was a sense of pride. Like I called my mama and we just sat and listened to it together. And when Maya and Mina, her daughter and sister, and then her niece and her daughter, who calls her Mamala, started to talk, I was like, oh Lord. Oh Lord, it's the family. And then that sort of extended, but her bringing all of us into the room tonight and on the stage was that's the Kamala that many of us who have been walking with her and her journey and being a supporter to the advocacy work that we all do, like those, that's the Kamala Harris that we know. And I was so excited that she brought that Kamala out this evening for people to see, and introducing them to who didn't have a chance to actually listen to see that on the campaign trail when she was running for president, but got to see that tonight. So I was very proud of her both talking about us and extended family and our issues and making them front and center in her conversation.
I think that Tracy, I agree. I mean, one of the things that I thought was really, I mean, she did what she needed to do tonight. And one of those things that she needed to do was to introduce herself to the American people on her own terms, beyond the criticism and the wild attacks that we've seen over the last 3 weeks. It was really important for her to tell the American people who she was, who her family was, who her people are, and what issues both matter to her deeply, but that will also guide this administration. So I felt like she did absolutely what she had to do. But I want to just also bring into this conversation not only the hosts, but Joteka and Melanie, and ask you all sort of how you feel about this moment. And I'm sorry, Shanti, I missed you, about how you feel about this moment. What did this mean to you all tonight? And I'll start with you, Melanie. This is, I imagine, a culmination for you of a lot of work. And I can imagine, as Tracy said, the pride that you must feel in this moment as well. So
I just want to make, and it's also Melanie's, like, she just had her anniversary at the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. Yeah. So she's been there for a minute. Yeah. So just want to.
Oh my God, ladies!
So much young pups work with her.
Right, right. But I want to.
Years. Just
that's right. But I want to celebrate you for that, and so put it in that context of seeing it over a period of time.
Yeah, some of us young pups cut our teeth.
I'm gonna tell you, ladies, I've been walking around with, I brought the ancestors with me all day long today. I just feel so awesome. I'm like, Black women, when she just called the sisters' names, she spoke up. She was like unapologetically all that she is. That's right. Yeah. Black woman. She's a woman with Indian background. She's a prosecutor. She's a mom. She's Mamala. She's Kamala. She's all those things. And she's the first Black woman vice presidential nominee. I said, thank you. All I can say is thank you, God. And at the end of the day, we all knew it. Is that we always used to say, try to tell you, follow Black women. We're not going to lead you wrong. And I thank Joe Biden for listening, and not listening to the other folks that was in his ear, that he listened to Black women. And I just felt good. I cried when I heard it. I didn't cry that. I was in it just jumping up and down, sipping a little bit. Since we come to the sip, right? To be honest, right? And just enjoying the moment, right? I was talking to Arlene Hope Baker earlier today. She sent me a picture right before, a couple hours before the everything started, of her twin granddaughters standing there holding up the sign about, us as a young little Black girl saying, yes, Kamala Harris, vice president. And so that's what it's about. So I felt good. I'm really excited, enjoying the moment. And nonpartisanly speaking for the lawyers, right? I'm just I just be me. I'm ready to get ready on my off time and help get elected.
We can appreciate the history. Appreciating the history does not have a tax status. This is important for all of us.
It's off the clock.
Hey, 25 years, I have orange in this necklace, but I know how to, that's what I'm saying.
Joteka, I'm gonna come to you because you've been putting in hours and hours and hours over the last couple of weeks, and so there is a relief in today as well, and so just want to get your thoughts on what this means to you right now.
I'm just. I'm so full. I'm full right now. I'm just very full. And I was all prepared to talk about, how I feel. I didn't think that I would go into this mode, but this is really how I've been all day and all night. That speech was just so powerful to watch her walk onto that stage. And tonight, I felt and I feel that Black women everywhere and little Black girls and grandmamas and aunties everywhere, they feel seen and heard. I feel the ancestors, their spirits. When she was calling the roll, when she called the names tonight, you could just feel the power. And right now I'm just overcome with emotion. I feel an incredible sense of gratitude. Mm-hmm. I feel pride, but I feel gratitude. I think when I think about the first thing that I feel right now, I feel gratitude. I am grateful and I am thankful for Ida B. Wells, Coretta Scott King, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Fannie Lou Hamer. So many, those that we know their names and others that we don't know their names. I think about my own grandmama. I think about every Black woman that just was mistreated, that was discounted, that was just underestimated. And she took it.
Yeah.
She took it. But tonight, when Kamala Harris walked on that stage, she walked on that stage in a manner and she just rose for all of them. For every Black woman that's been pushed to the side, for every Black woman that someone tried to mute her, she was their voice tonight. She was them standing there tonight. And the fact that she recognized the shoulders for which she stood on, it just was a powerful moment for me personally. And I'm just grateful to just be present to witness it. And I'm grateful to those who made this moment possible, because it's been centuries and years of hard work of countless Black women who fought knowing that they would not even see this day. Right. But they wanted to ensure that I could see this day, that you can see this day. So it's just an incredible moment, and to see her family bring her out. She is America. Yeah. She represents the future of this country. Yeah. And the fact that she was unapologetically Black, an unapologetically Black woman who said, I am all those things. I am all of that. Right. My family is wide. And that her speech, she talked about the issues that people are feeling all around the country. Yeah. So no matter who you are, they heard you. And they know that she hears and sees them.
Yeah. I mean, what was great is she said, I am all of these things and my family is wide, but be clear, I am Black. Right. And that was important. I think also the sort of, it's been centuries, countless centuries but also countless hours and countless days and countless months and countless years. And Ashanti, particularly because talk to us about what this means for you personally, but also for women. I mean, part of your work is to ensure that women actually rise to this level of political leadership. And so this has to mean a lot for you just personally in terms of your, not you personally, but also in terms of your professional work.
Oh, absolutely. I just love the entire theme tonight, highlighting women's leadership, that montage of all the women. I was like, yes, like this is what I want people to see. Women are getting the stuff done. And when it comes to Kamala, the founders of our organization, she was their inspiration. They worked on her first DA race, and it was a race where she got counted out. No one believed she would win. She won. She went on to be Attorney General. They thought she couldn't win that. She went on to win her Senate race. She is everything that we want to see, because when it comes to Black women's leadership, once you win one office, they act like that's all you can do. That's where you need to stay. And she has continued to rise to this highest position. But I also think about Leslie Herod, who did her nomination as another Emerge alum. She is the first open Black woman LGBTQ legislator in Colorado, and they counted her out. So to see her nominate Kamala was everything. And I think about all the women who come to our network, and Kamala is their inspiration. I think about the women that Kamala has brought to our network. London Breed, the mayor of San Francisco, she tells people, Kamala told me I was doing Emerge and I was running for office, and I just didn't argue. Now we see all of her leadership. The same with Malia Cohen. She served with London, and London has elevated her in so many ways. So I'm thinking about this not only from the perspective of how she has overcome so much when people challenged what she did, but all of the women who are going to be inspired now to run for office because of her, and to continue this legacy, because now this is her legacy. We talk about Shirley so much, but now Kamala has a legacy. And I was talking earlier at another event just about the representation that the impact is going to have for young women. I think about my niece in 2016. We're from Nevada. My mom called me right after they finished caucusing, and she was yelling at me. She's like, your niece almost got us kicked out of the caucus. I'm like, well, what'd she do? She's like, she was yelling, I'm with her at all the other campaigns. And I was like, well, we know she looks like me and she acts like me, but I swear I didn't teach her that. She figured that out on her own. And then we know how that election went. And I was back home in Nevada a few days after the election. And I said, baby girl, would you ever want to run for president? And she said, no, TT Shani, they make it so hard for girls. They're just so mean to you. Yeah. And that broke my heart. Yeah. So 2017, it was actually right before we did the Black Women Lead event at the Congressional Black Caucus. My brother sent me a picture of her homework. And one of the questions was, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it said president. So I called him and I said, little bro, what changed? He said, I show her your work of all of the Black women who are running and winning. So that makes me emotional.
Well, I think that makes us all emotional. And Tracy said something that I think is absolutely right. She said coattails. Coattails. So when I think about, we're talking about the top of the ticket right now in terms of Black women's leadership, but we also can also imagine what this will mean for the record number of Black women who are running all across the country, for whom Kamala's presence at the top of this, at the top of the ballot, will have real meaning and real impact in terms of their ability to say and to be and to step into their own power and their own leadership. And I do think that does say something, I think, about where we are in this moment in our country. From last night, we're night 2, I don't even know what night we're on. I've lost track. Tonight threw me off. Night 3, but each night, right? We've heard folks talk about the danger that our democracy faces right now. We also know that you have all kinds of people stepping up to say we're going to protect our democracy. But I would ask each of you your perspective on what it means in terms of, and what it's going to take, right? And in terms of everyday people, because you all certainly work with candidates, but you also work with regular folk, right, who we have to mobilize and make sure that however they vote, by mail, early vote, in person, that we're doing the work that we need to do. So Melanie, talk to us a little bit about what this means in terms of people protecting the democracy that we have to uphold in this moment.
Thank you, Adrian. And I'm looking at all the sisters on this call. Just makes my heart full, and I know that I'll be in a foxhole with you all any day. So first of all, the Black women are doing what we do, leading. Think about Judith over there and some of the other sisters who are fighting the fight, not just in the streets, but in those courtrooms and do what they need to do from a legal perspective. So knowing that Black women are leading in that perspective, Black women on the ground mobilizing. I see my sister Latasha Brown. Good, you saw we texted each other, so she found her text. She found the information. So she's doing what Black folks
Get up, Tasha, come on.
And doing what we need to do. Right? We got Black Pack over here. We got Higher Heights over here. So first and foremost, just being able to stay connected, making sure we got each other's back in this fight, because this is to me, it's more than a fight for the soul of America. It's a fight for our lives. So we got to use every tool in the toolbox and make sure our people know that they have the power to do what we need to do and be safe and live, because that's the reality of COVID-19. So early, what we're doing and what a lot of us are doing is letting our folks know now is the time to get ready, right? We know this man is clear. One thing I know about 45 is whatever he says he's gonna do, he said it in the beginning in 2015, 2016, and he'll try it even if he can't go all the way through. But the damage that he does. So the fear people have now of even going and using vote by mail is its own challenge. So we've got to find a way to get the trusted voices out there. We're doing something on our end called, are you vote ready, right? Utilizing social media, but we also got to still knock on doors and give folks the information and wear the mask and do all of the PPEs and all those kinds of things that we have to do so they know, and especially our seniors, right, who we know we have to protect, making sure they get the ability to vote as a priority. So those who are listening out there, check on our elders, check on me, mom, them, check on your mamas and grandmamas and folks, and make sure that they're taken care of early, right, in this process, so they can get that vote in. We're gonna organize, and we say we're gonna organize around all of this voter suppression. We're gonna fight and support our legal powerhouses. But we're gonna fight from the streets and in the courtroom, and we're gonna win this. But it's gonna take all of us, and all of us having each other's back and organizing together so we can maximize the power that we already have and get across that finish line and make sure that this night is not the only historical night that we live through.
That's right. That's right. I'm gonna, Ashanti and Joteka, let me bring in Latasha just to answer this question, then I'll bring the two of you back in. Latasha, the question is, what does this mean in this moment in terms of us protecting our democracy and our ability to galvanize, right, and mobilize our people to protect what we have fought so hard to have, right, and also clearly maintain.
Thank you, Lord. I just want to thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I just want to thank you, Lord. I just wanted to start with that. Because that's what I'm feeling in my spirit, y'all. I know I've got political analysis that I can give all day. but I'm sitting here on this phone with my sister, Melanie Campbell, who as a 20-something-year-old, like nobody, I'm down in Selma, Alabama grinding, nobody know my name, but that sister like said, come on, I got this thing called Black Youth Vote, and I want you to be on the advisory committee, and I got access to meet people and build relationships in DC that I wouldn't have had otherwise. There was a sister that opened the way for me. That when I was in Selma and I was working at a clothing store, right, and I knew I had something to offer, there was a sister that came and recruited me to be an organizer and show me the way. When I didn't have anything, when I was embarrassed because I was in college and I had to leave school because I got pregnant, it was a sister that said, baby, it ain't over. You got a lot to offer. When I was running for office, I had no money. I only had as my girlfriend, which was a sister who literally went to Kinko's with me. And we did my campaign space, created my whole campaign in Kinko's. The campaign office was her Jetta because my car was too raggedy to do it. And we literally almost won that thing. That was a sister. I'm saying that because there is something about the enormous power that we have as Black women that is not just about this moment of what it means to this system. It means what does it mean for us in this moment? And so I just hope that we really don't miss it, that we don't miss this moment. Is literally everything in the universe is showing us, everything is showing us about our power. I am one of those sisters from a state called Alabama where they've done everything, including try to kill us and do that, right? Yet it was sisters that in the midst of an election when nobody else could see there being a race where you're gonna flip a Senate seat, there were Black women that did that. Like at the end of the day, everybody's saying that Kamala was safe now and she was the obvious choice. That ain't what folks said a month ago, y'all. You know that. That ain't even what people said a couple of weeks ago, right? No. But there were sisters that did that. I'm raising this because ultimately we can't miss this moment, women, that we are women, Black women are opening the way. We're opening the way, not just for each other, but for our families. We're going to transform this thing right now. So when I'm thinking about what is happening, I can give all of the political analysis of the speeches and whatever, but right now, y'all, we got to stand in the spirit of that. There's a Bible verse that my grandmother used to talk about that says, the last will be first and the first will be last. Like at the end of the day, they have done everything to us. They have raped us. They have ravaged us. They've lied on us. They've done all, and they can't stop us. It don't matter. They can call us whatever they want to. They can call us ambitious. They can call us hoes. They can call whatever. They can't stop us. The only thing that stops us is when we stop ourselves. So I'm just raising it that at this moment, if we could just turn up the vibration in terms of who we are and how unstoppable we are in every single system. It's not for us to get in place to replace the men. That ain't the goal. The goal is for us to come differently, for us to come in the space and crack that thing open. So I'm hoping that we see this moment ain't just about Kamala. This is our moment. Like there are millions of Black women who did not have this opportunity. This is our moment. And so in this space, I'll just say this. I know I'm talking too long. I'm just filled with spirit. And I just think that it's really important. The three quick things real quick, I'll say is one, standing in our power means just that, standing in our power. And the power does not necessarily start or end with this system. At the end of the day, there are components of this system we got to replace, right? Number two, that when we see women that are doing work, like Adrian, the work that you are doing, the work that you are doing, Tracy, the work that you are doing, Glenda, the work that you are doing, Melanie, that we need women to support these women and to have our back as we're on the front lines doing this and have the back of other sisters. The third and the last thing I'll say is let's not let the sisters be left behind at the bottom. That right now, 68% of Black women, I'm gonna keep saying this, and it's funny, I've said it in 3 interviews, y'all. I've done all kind of interviews, and I've said in 3 interviews, they will not print it. I keep saying it, and I don't know why, that 68% of Black women are hourly wage workers. So right now, the most unstable, right, where we're dealing with stability or instability around economics are our people. How are we looking out for those women? Those women who are in a very vulnerable position. And so I just offer that that we get this sister elected, but we don't stop there. That we literally have a complete different question and framing around what it means for a Black woman to exert and stand in our power.
Right. So the goal is transformation. The goal isn't simply electing people to an office. Right? The goal is to transform the conditions for our people, and particularly in a moment where women are being affected most and suffering most under the current conditions that we're in. Ashanti and Joteka, let me bring you in, and I want to ask you a question that sort of builds off of what Latasha was just saying, which really is about how do we think about activating our networks. Joteka, you have activated a broad network, or helped to activate a broad network over the last weeks, in terms of bringing people in and organizing folks in a way that has been really quite phenomenal. So I want to ask you, and then also you, Ashanti, this question about how do we activate our networks, not only for the benefit of making sure that we move this ticket forward and move Kamala forward, but we actually make sure that we get what we need to get as a community on the other side of the election.
Yes, and you know, every time Latasha Brown comes into a room, you can feel the power in the room. You know, we organize together as Black women around this hashtag Win with Black Women. And it's not just a hashtag, it's a movement. And what we say in it is what is the truth, that when you have Black women, you can win. Trust Black women, win with Black women. And so we've been organizing. More than 700 Black women came together to speak out boldly and to denounce the racism and the sexism that we saw in the narrative leading up to the announcement of the vice presidential candidate. We came out boldly and was very clear in saying to Vice President Biden that it was important that there be a Black woman on this ticket. It was important that America would finally give us our rightful place at the table, because we were tired of just being simply the backbone of America and the backbone of this party. But it was time for us to step up and be recognized as what we are and who we are, the leaders of this party and the leaders of this nation. So we are organizing in it, and it's clear that we have Black women. We are powerful, and Black women are in power in every aspect and every sector of this country. Black women are leading in Silicon Valley in tech. Black women are leading in entertainment. Black women are leading in the movement. Black women are leading in politics. We see a historic number of Black women that are running for Congress right now in 2020. We have a historic number of Black women that are in pivotal positions of power across the country. And when I say pivotal positions of power, I mean in district attorney seats, city councils, school boards, all positions that are making pivotal decisions right now that are affecting our very lives. Mel made a very important point. This election this year is about life or death for so many of us. Latasha raised an important point. 68% of Black women are hourly wages. We know that nearly 30 million Americans are out of work, most of them Black and brown folks. We know that more than 170,000 people in this country are no longer with us because of the mismanagement by those who are occupying the White House as it relates to this pandemic. Most of those, Black and brown folks. Many of them in places where I come from, little small dirt roads in places like South Carolina and Mississippi and all throughout the South. So we have to organize in a way and in a manner that we leverage our power. It is always about power, but power is what we use to change the lives of those that have been pushed to the margins and put them back into the center and focus this country in a way that services those that absolutely are the heart and the soul that keeps this country going, because we depend on those people every single day. They help build America. They drive America forward. And those people are our people. They're Black women. They're Black people. They're people of color. And it is time for those people to be at not only the center, but leading this country and this party. So we have to organize, because as you said, there's a vicious attack on voting rights. I spent many years working on voting rights at the NAACP. We saw those attacks start as early, they've always been here. They got more aggressive in 2010 and 2011. We saw attacks on early voting, attacks on photo ID. Now there's an attack on the US Postal Service. So the antidote to voter suppression is voter turnout. So we got to be vote ready, turn out in record numbers and own our votes and ensure that our power is heard loud and clear so that we can begin to put those people back in the center of our nation.
Absolutely. And Ashanti, how your thoughts on organizing our networks, mobilizing our networks, and also thinking broadly about what it means to have a network, which is a thing that women have to do when they run for office. They have to really think about not the sort of what might come to mind, right, when they think about their network. So give us your thoughts on what we need to do to make sure that we have everybody engaged.
Oh, absolutely. And you hit it right on the head. The first thing that I tell them is you need to start putting your network together. And then women think, well, I don't have a network. I'm like, yes, you do. Go through your Facebook list, go through your phone, go through the people at work that you actually really, really like, go through your church, who was at your wedding, your sorority sisters. That is your network. That is who you start with. And we have to realize campaigning is still going to be very different in the fall. We're going to have COVID and we're going to have flu season. So things most likely are going to get a lot worse. So what we need to win right now is that relational organizing, us talking to the people that we know. We were privileged enough tonight to be able to watch the convention. Not everyone was able to see it. So we need to be the ones going out and sharing this information because we're fortunate enough to have it and to let them know why it's important. It was really shocking to me that so many people, we know they haven't even really tuned into politics until this convention. Most people didn't even know that Senator Harris was running for president, which sometimes I can't stand Twitter, but we know that's the reality of our world. So we need to make sure that we're talking about things, but then also it is those down ballot races. We have to make sure that they know that we need these local and state leaders too, because all of us know they have the biggest impact on our daily lives. And when we're talking about voter suppression, the people we're seeing fight back against it are really our attorneys general, and our secretaries of state. And for states that are lucky to have those people, they're doing fairly well, the people that want to defend voting rights. But we also know that they're standing up for all of us. Imagine if we don't have them, if this man gets elected another 4 years. We already know he will be completely insufferable. But imagine how worse it will be if we don't have our state and local leaders to defend us. So this is an election where, yeah, we need our top of the ticket, but we need all of those other people too, because we got too much at stake, too much to lose. We got to activate, we got to relational organize, tell them the information about, all right, can you request a mail-in ballot? If you do, what are the rules in your state for if you can vote absentee? It's so different. We need to just really get back to the basics with how we're talking to people about this election season.
No, that's exactly right. In every election season, I mean, I was multitasking today and in focus groups while watching the convention. And what I think the point that you're making right now is so important, because it's not just about making sure that people have the information that they need, which is absolutely true, about who Kamala Harris is. And again, like, she did an amazing job of reintroducing herself to some, but also defining herself, right, for the rest of the country. But there are also all those down ballot races that people maybe aren't getting, like, they are not getting through the noise to know who those other folks are. And it's important. And I think for us and for all of our networks to make sure that we are getting that information to people, because all of it matters in this moment as we try and save our democracy, not just elect a president and a vice president. I think at this point, I'm handing it back over to Glenda. Glenda.
Hey, Adrian, can I just say one quick, really quick? And y'all, we have to fight like heck against the tide of the attacks.
Yeah.
You know, I'm with the go high, you know, okay, so some folks gotta go low.
So you can do the high, but we can hit this.
I didn't say who low.
I can go low.
But not on our watch.
No, I say we go hard.
We have to go, Latasha, we gotta go hard in the paint.
We gotta go hard.
We gotta go hard, and we gotta go straight at them, like, watch it. We watch it, and we're not having it, because that damage goes beyond November.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Same old game. How they try to, you can't tell me it would have happened if it was a white woman standing up there. It wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, no, we
You want to talk about calling out the name, we could have done that 2016, but we took the high road.
Right. And to your point, Mel, we need our
Right.
allies. What you said earlier today, we need our allies, white women, white men, standing with us, as you said earlier today, because these aren't my words, Mel, these are your words. Or this is Bishop Leah Daughtry's
I was going to say, yeah,
This is Leah Daughtry's words. What she said earlier today is that we need our allies standing with us. We need you not just watching Black women fight against these attacks, but we need you to fight against these attacks as well. Because we know
Fatima, you know who to pull together. You know.
She's like, go get her.
I'm gonna be quiet. I know y'all got time. But I'm just saying.
I gathered the
There's
way.
a lot of craziness out there today. It's gonna get worse.
There was a nominee, right? We said, we see you, we see what was done. And it's also the media allowing it to just be okay. So every time they call her angry, every time, you know, she could have whispered her speech. I guarantee you in the morning, right? They're gonna say that her anger, we can't let it go.
Yeah.
We can't let it go every single time. People will be there.
Judith, do you want to weigh in there? Because I do think that that's part. I mean, even when we talked about that last question about networks, there is something about mobilizing the wide range of networks, not only to protect, like Melanie's saying, to push back, but also to make sure that we are, you know, protecting the vote. And I also want to say this is called the SIP, and that's why Judith and I are sipping. Y'all can want to.
I don't know about the rest of y'all, and
I
especially
don't have anything to sip. I just got hand sanitizer.
please, especially Latasha. Latasha just had a beautiful. Latasha had a beautiful drink on Sunday.
Wasn't it pretty?
It was so pretty.
I worked hard.
Of course, that's juice.
It was pretty. I'm trying to figure out how to get one of those. Yeah, I mean, look, we don't have a lot of time, and we need to be pulling out all the stops, all the people who we, don't pay attention to all the time. We talk about, Fatima, you know who those people are. Get them out there. But also for Black women in particular, you know who in your family ain't voting, ain't registered. I consider this to be like, we know that we have to have extreme turnout. We have to make this a decisive election so that the man that lives in the White House has to know that he's got to pack up and leave.
On election
night. So that means on election night. And that means that all of the people that we know haven't filled out a census form yet are the same people who got to register, and we got to make sure they vote.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining this marathon coverage, the hashtag Black Women Lead 2020. For y'all that know, I'm usually in bed, but Kamala Harris got me up. And I'll leave you with her words. And she said, let's fight for the America that we know is possible. That means we all have different type of tools to be able to be in this fight. And so we look forward to and I haven't even been sipping, look at that. I look forward to you joining the road to 2020, because it is certainly powered by Black women, and we need our allies to be engaged in this work as well. And so thank you for joining. If you didn't know about the SIP, you know about the SIP now. We are not live late like this. We are on Wednesdays at 2 Eastern, and on Sundays for Sunday brunch. So meet us back this Sunday, because it is we are going to do a Democratic convention wind down, and then we're going to wind up because next week is Republican. And so I'm interested in a variety of things, particularly let's see what they're taking notes, what did they do for that production? Anyway, so meet us on Sunday and bring a sip. It might be a cup of coffee, water, or something a little heavier for those who like. We are the SIP, and your hosts are Adrian Shropshire from Black Pack, Fatima Goss-Graves from the National Women's Law Center, Judith Brown-Dianis from the Advancement Project Action Fund, and Tracy Sturdivant from the League. And thank you to our guest, Melanie Campbell,
Thank you.
Lead Sister Vote, Ashanti Golar from Emerge, Joteka Ide, and Latasha Brown from Black Voters Matter. And I'm gonna let my tongue rest. So enjoy. Thank you for those
ladies.
Rode with us.
Thank you.
Leadership.
Good night. Thank you, Glenda. Thank you, ladies. Adrian, Tracy, Fatima, Judy. Love y'all. Good night.
Bye, Mel.
Bye-bye.
Good night, y'all.
See you on TV, Latasha.